Well, the Toronto Raptors have finally made a move, and I think it might be just one of the best moves they've made in a really long time. This is awesome. Okay, let's try to say it together. Sandro, Mamukelashvili. Yo, this is a dope signing for the Toronto Raptors. Welcome. I was worried, man. I was worried. No backup center, no spacing, no stretch five, no competent defense. If you're banking on Ulrich Chomsky to save you, might be a year too soon for that. Passed on Maxime Renault. This team's clearly had a target. And the minute that Doug Smith, shout out to Dougie Smith, never a take that doesn't age like milk, said the Raptors' plan is to go into this season with Scotty Barnes probably playing backup five, I was like, yeah, we're signing a backup big. And I think we got one of the best ones, honestly. If you haven't watched Sandro Mama, if you haven't watched Mamu, if you haven't watched Sandro Mamukelashvili, shout out to my guy Aaron, one of my really good friends is Georgian, so I'm gonna hit him up with a text after this because this is big news. New York born, speaks multiple languages, just turned 26 years old. If you're worried about the defense, don't worry. He's pretty decent on that end. He can stretch the floor. And most importantly, he really fits how the Raptors like to play basketball. I'm going to show you a lot about Sandro. We're going to talk about Jakob Poeltl's contract extension. Damn. Damn. Bro, how do you spell the dude's last name? Check the title, bro. We're going to have to put some respect on Mamu's name. Okay. I don't love what the Raptors did with Jakob Poeltl's extension. I think a lot of people are misunderstanding how that extension breaks down. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about who Sandro is. We're going to talk about how he passes the basketball. We're going to talk about how he processes the court. We're going to talk about how the Spurs used him last year. We'll talk about, maybe some drawbacks on this being, a really short-term deal and a prove-him deal. But ultimately, you got him real cheap. And if you're looking around the league at how much centers are getting paid, if you're looking at Kevon Looney's deal, if you're looking at the deal that Jonas Valanciunas signed last offseason, if you're looking at potentially DeAndre Ayton signing for the full mid-level, I like this guy more than all of them for what we need. I'm not saying he's a better player than those guys, but I'm saying he's a hell of a player. He's a hell of a player for how you want to play basketball. It's about 6'10", 6'9", 6'10", really mobile relative to, lumbering center standards across the league, about 245 pounds, blocks the ball pretty well. We're going to take a look at some of his analytics. We're going to see his breakout season last year, which sort of tapered off, if I'm being honest. Early in the season last year, when I was really paying attention to Spurs games, I thought this guy was in line for like a $14 million contract this year. His numbers fell off a little bit after the Spurs started to tank. His usage and role went up. His three-point shooting, which was blistering hot to start the season, it is yet to be seen which version of Mamu the Raptors are really going to get. Are they going to get the one that started out the season last year or the one that closed it out? Regardless of which version of him they get, I'm going to be very clear when I say this. He is an upgrade over whatever the hell you thought you were going to get in the free agent market. He is an upgrade on the likes of Bruno Fernando. He is an upgrade on the likes of Colin Castleton and whoever else. The Raptors have not done well with this particular type of signing, but they had a Mamu-sized hole on their roster, their backup roster. Now, does the roster suddenly make sense? No, it doesn't really make sense. We'll talk about the depth chart and what everyone's getting wrong about the Raptors' depth chart, but it makes a hell of a lot more sense today than it did yesterday because this is a major pickup. I'm not proclaiming that he's, oh my God, this guy is going to win most improved player. But this works with what you need, with the players you have. If RJ Barrett and Brandon Ingram, Jacoby Walters, Scotty Barnes, if these are the guys who are driving the offense, if, guys like Emmanuel Quickley and Grady Dick, etc., this is a guy who fills the spot on the court that you don't have. He's a great passer. He's a really good screener. He's good in transition, makes great decisions. He's not a bonehead. Hey, hallelujah. Okay. So first and foremost, let's get into this. Okay, so let's take a look at his numbers here real quick. We'll actually do a little bit of a brief film breakdown. Can I just share with y'all that I was pretty bummed out when I woke up this morning that the Raptors didn't do anything yesterday? I was telling my girlfriend, this is a tough time, bro. Masai is gone. We've lost our charm. We passed on Reynaud. We got this. We don't have a stretch big. Scotty needs a stretch big. The East feels a little bit wide open. We'll talk about the Damian Lillard, Miles Turner switching teams. We'll talk about all of that. We'll go through Shams' list of deals that have gone through today and really discuss Dennis Schroeder going to. We'll talk about the entire free agency. But right now, this is the Raptors moment because Lord knows we needed some good news. Masai gone. Jakob Poeltl is going to be making $30 million at the age of 34. Yo, I needed some good news today. Okay. And this is the good news. Saying, bro, I never want to see Orlando Robinson again. Damn, what did Orlando do to you? No, I hear you. I hear you. Okay, so first and foremost, you can study it through, right? This is a guy who had a pretty prolific, I don't want to say prolific, but a decent career in college. It is a former Montverde graduate. So there's another one. Another one bites the dust. RJ Barrett, Montverde. Scotty Barnes, Montverde. Precious Achua, Montverde. Clearly, the Raptors like this guy because maybe they saw him when they were down in Tampa. And maybe this is one of those things they just sort of filed in their head. I think he went 54th to the Indiana Pacers and subsequently got traded to the Milwaukee Bucks. And as you can see, that nice little box plus minus number of 2.3, he has clearly turned his career around. And I just want to say, this is not an older guy. I think a lot of people, when this deal broke down, they thought the Raptors signed a 30-something-year-old. No, he only plays like he's 30-something. He is 25 years old and 26. He turned 26 in May. So this is a player in his prime, not expected to progress. You're not signing a 32-year-old who's about to fall off a cliff. I would have preferred him to Brook Lopez, quite frankly. And we'll take a look at some of the analytics, but seriously, he was very efficient last year. 63% true shooting and 19.7 PER, 2.3 box plus minus is ridiculous. But if you look at the per 100, the volume is going up. And last year was the first time in his life that he broke 50% field goal percentage. And also the first time in a really long time that he broke 37% three-point shooting. So this was, for all intents and purposes, a career year for Mamu. And because of how it tailed off, because of the fact that the Spurs didn't make it to the playoffs, you benefit. Hey, hallelujah, the Raptors finally get a Spur on their roster without dumping a first-round pick. That's got to feel nice, right? That's got to feel nice because it felt nice for Kawhi, but I don't think it felt so nice for Jakob and Thad. So this is pretty great, if I'm being honest. Let's take a look at some of the plays with Mamu because honestly, I think you're going to be a little bit floored by how quickly he runs the court, how quickly he processes the game. Like, take a look here. So I'll apologize in advance. There's Mamu right there. Okay, catches the ball, 0.5 offense. Right. This is what the Raptors want to do with the basketball. Look at that. Immediately spots this, cuts the boom. Okay. Now I want you to imagine Jakob Poeltl, RJ Barrett, and basically all the Raptors. This is how the Raptors like to play basketball. Okay. And Mamu is great in that situation. Once again, filling the lane in transition, filling the wing on this side, Mamu at the top of your screen. He's going to catch the ball and make a great decision, right? This is 0.5 basketball. A lot of people say 0.5, but they're making decisions in 2.5 to 3 seconds. No, this is a guy who read the court, read this play perfectly, and he knew what he was going to do with the basketball before he even caught it. Look at that. Beautiful. It even adds a little bit of flair to that with a little bit of no look. Okay. Once again, the value of having a big who can process the court quickly. 3, triple threat, right? Who sees what he's supposed to do? Because I'll tell you right now, he sees what he's supposed to do. He sees that their Orlando Magic defender has fallen asleep, and boom, there's that little alley-oop that he throws to Jeremy Sohan. Here, beating his man off the dribble. No problem. Slam it home, Mamu. Oh, this guy's going to be a fan favorite. Take a look at some of the analytics on this guy. They're not bad, man. I'm telling you, 81st percentile offensive, offense in terms of crafted offensive plus minus. Decent offensive rebounder in the 84th percentile. Decent in terms of keeping those turnovers pretty low, especially for a guy who is quite portable and a really reasonable passer for his size. I'm not saying you got Jokic or something of that sort, but this player type is exactly what I wanted in Maxime Reynaud, except he's a better player than Maxime Reynaud. He's right now a much better shooter than Maxime Reynaud. And he's a much better defender than Maxime Renault projects to be. This is exactly the archetype, and he's a really good defensive rebounder. So in terms of shot blocking, he gives you a little bit of that too, right? He's not a godly rim protector. He's not Rudy Gobert. He's not Nick Claxton, but he provides some rim protection there for you. And he's fairly versatile as well, as we'll look at later. So I think in terms of where he shoots from, I think that's also very important to realize is he's dominant from above the break. So if you look at this scale at the bottom, average to above league average, all of his shots from above the 3-point line in that range where Brandon Ingram and Scotty Barnes and RJ Barrett are going to need an outlet of a big to reset the offense. That place where Jakob Poeltl is consistently roaming, trying to screen, rescreen, screen away. That's where Mamu can really shine because he can dissect the defense from his size, and he can also do the triple threat. He can also drive. He can attack a closeout, but he's going to force closeouts because, again, this is a guy that teams actually respect as a 3-point shooter. Big difference between Marc Gasol, guy who teams leave open all the time, and he can just launch them at 30%, versus a guy who teams actually respect, because the fact that teams respect him will actually create openings for Scotty, RJ, Grady, and literally everybody on this team. Everyone is going to benefit from him. His numbers, he can impact the box score, 4.6 rebounds, and I promise you he's a positive out there. This is a great get in terms of what he does on the court. In terms of defensive versatility, yeah, he's going to largely guard fives, okay? And that's cool. But he can also switch out a little bit to fours, a little bit to threes. He's a little bit mobile, a little bit more mobile than your lumbering bigs like Jonas Valanciunas. This guy makes Jonas Valanciunas defense look like trash, okay? Straight up. So I understand that everyone is really hyped for the Denver Nuggets, and shout out to the Denver Nuggets. They're doing a great job getting Bruce Brown, getting Jonas Valanciunas, massive upgrade on Darius Saric. I think this guy's better than all of them. Quite frankly, all three of those players, I think I would take Mamu over all of them. And this is not me saying this because he's a Raptor today and I'm a Raptor fan, so here comes the glaze for the Raptor. No. If the Raptors had traded for Jonas Valanciunas, I'd be dissecting the shit out of his defense right now and telling you that he doesn't fit and this is a terrible move. So no, my coverage of a player is never going to be based on what jersey they wear. It's going to be based on who they are as basketball players, and this is what I like about him. As a role man, great, decent cutter, decent, okay, fine in transition. But where he really shines is as a spot-up 3-point shooter. He's really good, man. Really good. Really good. And even has some movement shooting chops. Take a look at a little bit more of that film. Boom. Crafty. Nice touch. That's something that's really, been helped out throughout his career. I'm actually curious to see how much Darko can work with this guy, because honestly, the building blocks are already there. The jump shot is already solid. He's already a good reader of the court. You don't need to teach him how to play basketball. This is a guy who already comes in ready to roll. He knows how to play basketball right away. So the fact that he is going to come in and potentially, learn from who I deem to be one of the best development coaches in the league, and they're going to pour into him and make him a better basketball player. My only regret is this was a 2-year deal with a player option on the second deal, because you're not going to have him for long. But for this year, it helps, because I think this probably boosts you like 3 wins. Is that crazy to say that a guy who just signed at a minimum boosts you 3 wins? Check with me at the end of the year to see if he gives you 3 wins. He's probably going to give you 3 wins, man. Boom. And again, mobile. He's pretty mobile. If you squint your eyes there, that's a small forward out there, not a lumbering center. Look at that. Nice little finesse. Gets it out, gets it off right in time. Decent, man. Okay, here. Screen. Provides good spacing for that little pass there. Finishes over the pylon that is Jonas Valanciunas. Shout outs to JV. And again, take the contact, go through the contact. This is where Darko is going to specialize. Darko is going to help him find better angles, maybe even work with him on some of his post moves, work with him on some of his basketball IQ stuff. But man, this is a great deal. This is a great deal for the Raptors. You're going to love this guy. Okay. Some people have been asking, how's his defense? I think as a team defender, he's awesome. Really awesome. Maybe against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in space, he's going to get destroyed. He's not Evan Mobley. But as a team defender, he participates, and he's a big body, and he's smart. Look at this. Look at the anticipation. Boom. Pokes it away. Great move, man. Here, closing out. That's a wing. No problem. Pushes over. Gets it to go down. Nice. Here, attacks a closeout again. You can find them a lot. And here, what's the right move? Well, Based on how the defense has covered him here, sending 2 defenders, there's a clear drop off to the big. Is he going to make it? How the hell did he do that? He did that better than I thought he would. That's great. Great. Another great pass there, right? And that's the zone that he's going to be parked out at a lot. Here, look at how quickly he's going to start this break. You like players who don't do that bullshit thing where they grab a rebound and now we got to process the court and now we're going to see what's up. And now we're going to take 2 useless dribbles. No useless dribbles. He has been very well taught. Okay. Boom. Brings the ball up himself. Force the defense to commit. Boom. Go right to the rim. They don't cover it well. Make them pay. Right here. Same thing. Same thing. Little drop off here. Perfect pass. When's the last time you had a big who could do this? I would argue you haven't had a big who can do this in a really long time, if you've ever had a big who could do this, quite frankly. Once again, defense reads this play by great generational ball processor and court processor, Draymond Green. What's the move? Picks up the dribble, makes this perfect pass, outlet, perfect. Yo, man, you got a demon here. Another one. Good hands, little spin, little finesse. Okay, Mamu. Show him what you got. All right. Here we go. Another defensive play. Sweat. Get that garbage out of here. Say it in Jack Armstrong voice. Get that garbage out of here. Okay. All right. I like it. Here he comes again, running the break. Okay, man. Chill, bro. But doesn't give up on the play. Love it. But yo, for real. When's the last time you had a center who could do this? Compact dribble, no look, throws it, misses, follows up for the offensive rebound. I'm getting Mamu's jersey tomorrow. Yo, that's a pretty dope ass jersey. I just hope you don't have to pay by letter. Okay. Once again, processes the court in less than a freaking second. Right? Like, that's awesome. Screen. Pick and pop, baby. Pick and pop. Let the defense sag off on you. Look at the reaction from Precious Achiuwa. He knows. Uh-oh. I was supposed to cover that guy. Lights out, right? Once again, look at the defense. The second he's about to get it, look at how New York wants to cover this. New York's like, oh, no. Close out, sidestep, wet, right? Once again, they lose him, they pay the price. Hey, Colin Murray-Boyles can shoot 40% from 3 this year. Nobody's guarding him like this. Scotty can shoot 40% from 3. Nobody's guarding him like this. When you have a reputation as a shooter, as we discussed on the panel last week, Mars, shout outs to Mars Talk Sports, he brought that up. This is what happens. The defense panics, the defense collapses, the defense makes mistakes. You simply being on the court is a threat, and it's a threat that helps your teammates. This is important. So once again, like, look at this. Don't give up on the play. Don't give up on the play. Run the court. Shows good basketball awareness. Pump fake. Panic. Boom. Attack. Dunk. It's a very simple game. This is the game of an elite role player. This is an elite role player. So I think that for the minimum, I would have paid him 7 easily. You would have heard no complaints from me if the Raptors signed him to 7. Now, not that the Raptors could sign him for 7, but let's just say hypothetically it was a sign and trade and the Raptors signed him. I'd be okay with it. If the Raptors had signed and traded Ochai Agbaji for him, I think I would have understood it. From a roster perspective, it would have been fine. People are saying he's 6'10", 6'9", whatever. I mean, he's probably 6'10" and change, but he's not undersized for the center. This is definitely the second biggest guy you have on your roster. I think Ulrich is just as tall, if not taller. Irrelevant. You don't have anything like this guy on your roster. He's really good. He's a really good player. Speaking of really good centers, the Raptors signed Jakob Poeltl to what is being reported as a $104 million contract extension. Okay, so Yak picks up the final year of his player option, which is technically doing the Raptors a favor if you want to consider what the Raptors value him at. And then they're going to overpay him for it by a little bit to extend his contract 26, 30, 28, and 30. He will be 34 years old in the final year of that deal. Is this a good deal? Let me know if you're watching this after. Personally, I feel like this is a bad deal. And I'm going to tell you a million reasons why. No, I'm not going to tell you a million reasons why, because that would be overkill and it would be a bit of a buzzkill. But I will tell you that I do not think that this is going to be a contract that is going to be heavily tradable. I think by next year, you're probably going to be stuck with this. So you're committing. You're committing. You're saying, we like this guy. We want him. The mobility's been going down for 3 straight years. We don't care. The rim protection numbers are nowhere close to what they were in San Antonio. We don't care. We think that we're going to develop this guy into the type of post-up big that becomes invaluable for us. I think that if you ever decide to pivot off of him, or if you decide to get a player who is better than him and start them at center, i.e., you trade RJ Barrett for a center, now congratulations, in 2029, you're paying $30 million for a backup center that absolutely nobody wants. He will be only tradable in 2029. So we are currently in 2025. He will be tradable in 2029. Jakob Poeltl is like a gift that keeps on giving. And that's kind of where I'm at on this. Now, I don't know who you're bidding against. I really don't. I see the deals that were signed this offseason. I said yesterday he's worth 15 to 20. The fact that you're paying him 30 at the age of 34, to me, is malpractice. It's really stupid. It's a really dumb deal. I don't understand it at all. But you know what? Is it the worst contract in the NBA? No, because he's a role player. He's portable. Every team could use a player like this. It's not like Bradley Beal where, he's a shot maker and okay. I think when you compare it to other contracts that were just signed, Miles Turner just signed for less than this, right? Or right around this. So is he as good as Miles Turner? No. Naz Reid signed for $25 million a year. Is he better than Naz Reid? No. So in terms of the comparables, you have once again overpaid your own free agent by 30%, which makes the Mamu deal all the more weird. Because if I'm Mamu, if I'm Sandro and I'm looking at this deal that they just signed, I'm like, is this team on crack? Are they trying to tell me that Jakob Poeltl is worth 10 times more than me? I don't think he's worth 2 times more than him. So that's kind of where I'm at on this. Like, whatever. It is what it is. You sign him. I expected 25 million. The fact that this ends up averaging around 27.5, 28 million for the extension, that to me is just very rich. Very rich. But it's also worth noting the cap is going up by 10%, 10%, 10%. You're proofing against that. This contract right here, 30 million in 2029, will be equivalent, if you want to use it as a percentage of the cap, it'll be equivalent to about what 19 million was in 2021, 2022. That's how much the cap would have scaled by then. Maybe 2023. So maybe, yeah, you're future proofing yourself. Contracts will get more ridiculous as the cap goes up. But I think the players who get that money are changing. If you look at Jalen Williams, the deal that he just signed, $8 million a year. If you're really going to be honest, Jalen Williams at $8 million is way better than Jakob Poeltl at $30 million or $28 million. So it's a little bit like, who the fuck are you betting against? Who do you think was going to give Jakob Poeltl this deal? You think there's some team out there that's just like, you know what I really want? I really want a 32-year-old who doesn't shoot jumpers and isn't an elite rim protector. And you know what I mean? But Yak is a valuable player for the Raptors in terms of ensuring continuity, in terms of being a decent passer, not a great passer, but a decent passer, good connector, good screener. If he does end up being a backup for you a couple of years from now, it's not the worst thing in the world. At the very least, I don't think Jakob Poeltl is ever going to lead to losing basketball. I just wonder, and I myself have wondered many times, how much does he really add to the win total, right? And how does he fit long-term with Scotty Barnes and Brandon Ingram? 2 guys who generally need that mid-post area a lot more and will benefit tremendously from playing with a stretch big like Sandro. So that's really it. Chosen saying elite offensive rebounder. Yeah, if you go look through NBA history, one of the fastest things to decline post 30 for most centers is their offensive rebounding rate. So he may be an elite offensive rebounder 2 years ago, a year ago, Will he be one 3 years from now? I think that's kind of the question you have to answer for yourself right now. This is rich. This is very rich. Nobody in the league is signing him to this contract other than you. And you better be sure. You better be really fucking sure about how he's going to age. They work with him every single day. Obviously, they value him a lot as a person. I'm just not paying someone $30 million to be a good person in my locker room. That's kind of where I'm at. Let's move on to the deals that have been signed today. And, you know, a lot of shit has gone down today, man. So let's just go and let's tackle it one by one. Fuck. You know, Brad Stevens really knows what he's fucking doing. Josh Minot, 2-year, $5 million deal. 11 minutes ago. Damn it. I really wanted this guy, man. I really did. But say la vie. Fuck. Really wanted Josh. Really wanted Davon Sharp. They both go for a combined $8 million. $8.5 million. That's what my two targets. Yo, Raptors, hire me, yo. Hire me. I promise. It will be good. Okay. Talked about the Jakob Poeltl trade. The Kings deal with Dennis Schroeder, $45 million for 3 years. That is $15 million a year. If that is flat, it is a bad deal. If it is raising, it is an even worse deal. $15 million in today's economy for Dennis Schroeder is something only the Sacramento Kings are stupid enough to do. And that's a bad deal. That's a bad deal. That's a terrible deal. The Raptors signed Dennis Schroeder to $11 million, and it was the best offer he had 2 summers ago. And I thought that was a slight overpay. $15 million a year for Dennis Schroeder means you're holding on to Dennis Schroeder for the next 3 years. Dennis Schroeder ain't stayed anywhere for 3 years in a really long time. So the chances are you're going to want to move this pick. You're going to want to move this player at some point, and you're not going to be able to. And you're going to have to attach and probably dump second-round picks to trade him. How many teams has Dennis Schroeder been on in the last 4 years? Go count. Go count. If you want to fall asleep, don't count sheep. Count the number of teams that Dennis Schroeder's been on. That's insane. Okay. Yo, best deal. Best deal that I saw go off today. I'm really happy with the Sandro deal, yo. Okay. Jericho Sims, 2 years. Milwaukee Bucks, minimum contract. Perfectly fine. Lob target. Would have assumed that he would have landed with either Milwaukee or with the Lakers. Kind of interesting the Lakers didn't get him. Seems like a really good fit, but sure. Kingsley saying, respect to Rob, but you're not going to excite me about Mamu. I think we're reaching for unsung heroes here. I mean, bro, what do you want? Bigs who shoot 37% are not turnstiles defensively in their prime should be going for around $8 to $10 million. In this current cap climate, that's what they should be going for. He's worth every penny as much as Kevon Looney, who signed $8 million. He's obviously not worth as much. If you wanted my top targets for the Raptors this offseason, it would have been Santi Aldama and Miles Turner. Okay, he's not Santi and he's not Miles Turner, but notice what they all have in common. They can shoot and they can shoot well. This is a valuable archetype. So that's sort of where I'm at with this. If they re-sign him next offseason, expect the number to go a lot higher than minimum. He's a good player. Okay, Pat Connaughton and 2 of their own second-round picks. The Milwaukee Bucks are trading to the Charlotte Hornets for Micic. Cool. Okay. Don't have any real opinions about that other than I think the Charlotte Hornets are actually doing a pretty good job this offseason. It started with the Con Knipple drafting, and I was like, this is very un-Hornet-like. And they've continued. And they've done a decent job. I wasn't a huge fan of Mark Williams at all. They got rid of him. Didn't like Nick Richards. They got rid of him. Didn't like the use of Nurkic. They got rid of him. So overall, I'm just seeing win after win after win for the Hornets. It's decent. It's good. So, joke franchises like the Hornets, the Pistons, you consider the Washington Wizards. Historically, these have been the teams that a lot of people clown on and say those are bad teams. The Hawks have been, routinely clowned on for being a bad team. I think the Hawks probably have won the offseason for most people. I think that's a fair assessment. I think they've done a great job with Nickeil Alexander-Walker and, adding Kristaps Porzingis. Even though they do lose Karis LeVert to the Pistons, the aforementioned Pistons, I think it's perfectly fine. It's a fair swap. I would prefer Nickeil over him anyway, just for the defensive upgrade. I think it's just hard to find a team that's just not doing a great job right now. I think if you wanted to really, really poke for one in the Eastern Conference for a team that's really not doing a good job right now in terms of their roster building, it would have to be between Indiana and Toronto. And that's kind of funny because, Kevin Pritchard and Bobby Webster are two of my favorite executives. So, yeah, the Mamu deal, as much as you may say it's reaching for unsung heroes, I think it's a pretty good deal. And it's the best you could have gotten. Gary Harris going to the Milwaukee Bucks for, okay, damn, it's a 2-year minimum, I think, with a player option there. The deal that broke Denver Nuggets Twitter, Jonas Valanciunas going for Dario Saric. Okay, break this down. Jonas makes a lot more money. Saric makes a lot less money. This is a salary cap dump. This was a salary cap dump in order to not have to trade Malik Monk, in order to facilitate a trade for Dennis Schroeder. We talk about opportunity costs. We talk about, what you're really doing. Dario is washed. He was washed 2 years ago. So you have given up something for nothing. And while I do not like the defensive fit of Jonas Valanciunas as a center behind, Domantas Sabonis, and I just thought that it was such a clunky fit with those two guys, this is a guy who actually has some value around the league for nothing. And now you have two guys who have no value around the league for what you're currently paying them. Dario on a minimum has minimal value. At $5 million a year, he has no value around the league other than as an expiring for nothing. So, at least JV is a guy that a lot of teams could maybe sell themselves on as a guy who can come in, grab rebounds, score efficiently around the basket. Maybe a contender would come knocking at the trade deadline if you held on to him. Doesn't have a lot. He's expiring next year. Maybe you could have held on to him and gotten a little bit more. I understand it. I think it's a win for the Nuggets, who didn't have a backup center last year. They're playing a lot of DeAndre Jordan. Now they'll have two between him and Deron Holmes. If Holmes doesn't work out, at least you got him. I don't really think JV is moving championship odds at this point, but he's an NBA player. Okay, that's the best thing I can say about him. He's an NBA player. He's like Dennis Schroeder. He's an NBA player. They're top 200, 250 type of players. And everyone beneath them is either completely trash or a rookie or a second-year player. So he's all right. And I do understand it from Denver's perspective. I think they absorbed him into a trade exception. The Milwaukee Bucks, 4-year, $107 million. That is around $27 million a year for Miles Turner. Now, it's worth noting $27 million a year for Miles Turner was only made possible by the waving and stretching of Damian Lillard. Whoa. Damian Lillard. Yes. Let me say this real close. Toronto media, you motherfuckers. You wanted to trade Scotty Barnes for Damian Lillard less than 2 years ago. You donkeys. This is why you don't do it. Undersized guards don't age well. One injury and it's all over. Damian Lillard is never going to be a star again. I would argue he wasn't really a star last year. Is some team going to, thank their lucky stars when he comes back on a minimum and try to sell themselves on, this is Damian Lillard. Oh, he still looks like Damian Lillard. Oh, look, he had a 20-point game, Damian Lillard. This is a guy who is already being picked on relentlessly defensively. He's an undersized guard who does not try on defense. I love Dame. I do. Really. One of my favorite players. Can we accept reality here? Dame's done. Damian Lillard is dumb. Done. Not dumb. Media is dumb. Dame is done. Okay. And at this point, probably going to end up in Miami, probably going to rehab the Achilles, probably going to play out his, Miami has a thing for guys who are over the hill. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because Pat Riley's there and he likes guys who are over the hill because he's over the hill. Bro, Pat Riley isn't over the hill. He's been over like 18 hills at this point. He's like under the hill right now. So the point here is probably going to end up in Miami or probably going to end up in Portland. Either one of those situations, they're not looking at him as a star savior that the Bucks were looking at 2 years ago. It's funny to say the Drew Holiday for Damian Lillard trade, in which the Bucks actually added assets to make that swap, has actually turned out like it's aged like milk. Drew Holiday still has some value around the league. He's still a serviceable player. Dame is out for the year. Undersized guards coming back from an Achilles tear. Bro, this is not good. He is going to be a spot-up shooter and probably at best a really good backup point guard going forward. I wish him good health. I hope that technology and medicine has come further and that he's going to be able to revive his career and go out on his terms. He's a really hardworking guy. Weber State to Portland, loyal, etc. So I just hope, you know, apparently news came out, Chris Behane saying Giannis wasn't too pleased with how they dealt with Damian Lillard. I would say when people show you who they are, believe them, because they traded Drew Holiday like this. They traded Chris Middleton like this. No warning, no reason, no rhyme. They treat players like they're trading cards. That's what they treat players like in Milwaukee. And believe me, you know, Miles Turner, the second they have an opportunity, they're going to dump your ass the same way. Giannis Antetokounmpo, have one injury, they're going to do the same damn shit to you. There's no loyalty in this organization. They're a trash organization. I think they have trash ownership, trash general manager. I genuinely can't tell you how much it hurts my heart to see any player I'll actually like go to Milwaukee. It is trash. And oh, by the way, you're in Wisconsin. I mean, for fuck's sake, what's the sell? What's the sell? Come play with Giannis? Fuck, for how long? Okay, so let's get back to this. I mean, just shocking. How do you, like, I understand it. Okay, Gershon Yabusele, 2 years, $12 million with the New York Knicks, with plus a player option. Sources tell ESPN. I love this move. I love this move. I love this move for the Knicks. He is going to play. I don't know who's coaching them next year, but he is going to play. This is a major upgrade on Precious Achiuwa, who is, to my knowledge, still technically available. And who knows, and I don't know what he's going to do. He's going to sign a minimum contract at this point, Precious Achiuwa. But shit has really fallen off from when Masai Ujiri and the Raptors traded for Precious Achiuwa, thinking that they were getting their next, gem. And I remind you of the famous words, "You're mine." Like Masai's like, I called Precious and I said, "You're mine." Well, you might be you might be in Israel next year, bro. Like you can't be this poor at processing the court, this inconsistent with all the athletic tools. The patience does run out at some point. It's cute when you're 21, 22. It's cute, like, oh, he's a great jumper. He's this, he's that. He occasionally hits a couple threes. But by the time you're 25, 26, the patience does run out, right? So that's kind of where Precious Achiuwa is at. Gershon Yabusele is awesome. I would have loved him on the Raptors. I was fighting for it bad. So it's a great move for the Knicks. And I think, we'll talk about this very briefly at the end about where the Raptors stack up, where their depth rotation is right now, etc. But I think it's really worth thinking about how much better some of the teams that you weren't expecting to be really that good got, like Orlando, Atlanta, New York. I think these three teams, alongside the Cleveland Cavaliers, have firmly placed themselves into the upper echelon of the East. And then there's this next group of teams, which includes potentially Boston. We'll see, Jaylen Brown injured right now, surgery. We'll see how much he's able to do, or if they just totally dump contracts and, Al Horford is not back. So, we'll just see where Boston is this year. They could just bottom out and tank. So teams like Charlotte could end up rising up. Who knows, like how NBA ready Con Knipple is. If Philly is healthy, they're another team in that mix. The Raptors are certainly in that mix. But, certainly when you saw the injuries initially, the moment that Tatum went down, Lillard went down, the minute that Halliburton went down, I don't think most people were thinking, I think most people were saying the East is wide open, the East is wide open, the East is wide open. But then Atlanta comes and does what they do. And you're like, with the Desmond Bane trade and the Kristaps Porzingis trade, is it really that wide open? Because there was already this big gap between the Raptors and the Hawks and the Raptors and the Magic. And so you thought to yourself, well, we're adding Brandon Ingram. We've inched that gap closer. If Scotty Barnes takes the next step, we exceed the gap. We're the better team. But now they add Desmond Bane, and the Hawks add Kristaps Porzingis, who at least per minute is impacting winning much more than any center on your roster when he's healthy. So yeah, you think about top end potential. It's certainly hard to argue that the Raptors are a top 4 team in the East. I think a lot of people are putting them at 8th, 9th, 10th right now. I would argue they're still fighting for 6th. They're 6th. And if the Raptors are able to get a sizable jump from some of their young players, specifically Scotty, but also one of Grady Jacoby, maybe one of Jamal Shed, Emmanuel Quickly, one of those guys. Can somebody under the age of 26 take a jump the way Mamu took a jump last year? Can someone take that jump? Can Colin Murray come in and be just a little bit more NBA ready with that jumper than we're currently projecting, well, then that could swing things in your favor. You could just be exceptionally healthy. The rest of the league could be exceptionally unhealthy. And then boom, you catapult up. You also have the benefit of continuity, huge benefit of continuity. The Raptors generate some of the better shots in the league, and they are a very tight and connected group. So that will probably help. They haven't made huge sweeping changes across their roster. You could get, a surprise jump from someone you're not expecting. Elijah Martin, Chucky Hepburn, Jameson Battle. A lot of variables on this team. Don't hold your breath. Who knows, man? Maybe Mamu is a backup four. Again, I'm not saying this is going to happen. Maybe Mamu's a backup four and Ulrich actually surprises you in Summer League and he's just way better. He's looking a little heavy. To my liking, he's looking a little bit heavy the last couple of days that I saw him. So we'll see. We'll see what Ulrich does. Summer League is going to be now very interesting, but it's nice to see that the Raptors have indeed filled up the backup spot. I think we talked about this yesterday as the last deal, which was Gary Trent Jr., 2 years, $7.5 million to return. And I mentioned that the Raptors actually paid Gary more in his last season. They paid him 2 times more in his last season with the Raptors than the Bucks will pay him for 3 full seasons of service. That's the gap in proper management. Okay, so that's where we're at. Let's talk about the Raptors. Let's talk about the depth chart, and let's talk about the East. D4V saying, Chomsky looking big. Bro, he looks enormous. Okay, couple super chats here. Kano Aguido saying, thanks for doing what you do, Pen. Nothing like this in the Raptors media sphere. Appreciate you very, very much. Thank you so much. I think yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, exactly yesterday, we grew by 52 subscribers. I don't think we've grown by 52 subscribers in a really long time. So, there were a few comments that I received yesterday that, hey, you're being a little too negative. This is always so negative. Why are you so negative? I don't think I'm being negative at all. I think I'm being honest. And, good and bad. I'm going to tell you how I feel. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Sandro comes out and he's a little bit like Otto Porter. I don't know. I was really happy about the Otto Porter signing. Weren't you happy about the Otto Porter signing? I was certainly very happy. And then Otto's injured. And while you get the concept of it, it doesn't really work out, right? There's sometimes you're going to be right. I'm going to give you an example of one of those times. Hang on one sec. I'll bring you back. And this is the concept of being, let's call it, hold on, remove, add. Okay. I bring you back. I bring you way, way, way back to, first of all, shout outs to Mamukelashvili yesterday, struggling to pronounce Sandro's name. Sandro Mamukelashvili. If we sign him, I need a, I was going to say I need a translator, but it didn't make any sense, so I shut up about it. I'm just going to call him Mamu. That was less than 15 hours ago, so that's hilarious. That happened. I'm going to point out to something here. Okay, little notice, probably not going to be relevant anymore, but Darko did coach DeAndre Ayton right before he became really good. I'm going to choose to believe that that has at least something to do with Darko because I just want to believe that. Okay, hang on a second. Pull this back, pull it back, pull it back, pull it back. Now, I am reminded about getting 50 subscribers yesterday was pretty dope. But I'm reminded that 2 years ago, we lost 150 subscribers. I was sweating. I was sweating it. Now, I'm committed to telling the truth on this channel. No matter what happens, I'm going to tell you the truth. But there were long-time subscribers, long-time people saying, I've been with you since I was your 10th subscriber. I was your 12th subscriber, but I can't take this. You are hating on Jakob Poeltl. You're hating on Jakob Poeltl. If y'all remember, this was the vibe. This was the mood right here. We were on a live, said the Raptors are about to make a huge mistake because I heard through the grapevine that they were targeting Jakob Poeltl. And I made that live. And 2 hours into that live, I reacted live on air. An hour before we made the trade, this is what I said. That is crazy. If perchance the Raptors do turn it around, and they are certainly going to risk it if they sign if they trade for Jakob Poeltl or some crazy shit move like that. Crazy shit move. And I did not flinch. Oh no, it broke.
What? What
Oh
did?
no.
What?
Oh no.
Uh-oh. What?
The Toronto Raptors have traded for Jakob Poeltl for Kem Birch, a protected 2024 first round pick, and 2 future second round picks. Fuck! Yep. People got really upset with me for that. I gave this a D grade. Wow. Talk about an overreaction, huh? That wasn't an overreaction. That was the beginning of the end. Okay. It's not me victory lapping. Believe me, I would probably trade a month of my life if I can go back, build a time machine, and show Masai what was going to happen if he did that. It was not a good move. It was not a good move. I hope we can all agree it was a really stupid move. And people lack the basic common sense to be able to say, move player. Can like Jakob Poeltl, can agree it's the wrong time, wrong price, wrong whatever. Just like, I don't know, I could like Emmanuel quickly, but when you sign him to 32 million, I'm curious. I'm worried. I can like Jacoby Walter, right? But if nothing else changes and you sign him to a $25 million extension, I'm worried. I'm a little bit worried. I can like Jamal Shed. Shit, I can like Over Chumshy. I like all these players. Criticizing that they're overpaid is not an indictment of the player, it's an indictment of the contract. You have to be able to separate those two things. And at that moment, the criticism around the Jakob Poeltl trade was not an indictment of Jakob Poeltl, who I actually respect a lot as a basketball player and consider a huge upgrade over Kem Birch at the time. It was an indictment of the team direction or lack of direction. It was an indictment on the price, which was a valuable first round pick that I did not want to part with in 2 seconds that I thought were important. What that deal has turned into, of course, as we like to, analyze these deals, is a play in exit, 2 lottery finishes, a gift wrapped 8th overall pick to the Spurs, which they subsequently traded for an even more valuable asset, and 2 high value seconds. The good thing, or the good news, is that you're finally done paying for Jakob Poeltl after this year's draft, in which you lost the rights to the 37th pick because of that trade. The bad news is you just signed him to a $104 million extension. So it's just like really the gift that just keeps on giving at this point. If you consider that too negative, leave. But it's real. It's real. And, that's not hating on Yak. That's really not hating on Yak. So I'm just reminded that the same thing that lost me 150 subscribers, it was right around the time we were breaking 5,000 subs. If y'all remember, we're touching 5,000 subs, and every time we broke 5,000 subs, we would lose 5 or 6. Almost from people who were too they're always trying to spite, like, oh, he broke 5,000. Let's break it down a little bit. Every day we would get 20 subs, lose 35 subs. This kept up for weeks. Weeks. It just kept happening. And I remember just feeling stressed. And I'm like, are we ever going to break 5,000 subs? It was so weird. You know what I mean? Like, we literally posted, thank you so much for 5,000 subs. And for the next month, we were under 5,000 subs. Couldn't stop losing subscribers. And that was the time that I think I was just the lowest Raptor fan. Right now, a lot higher. Perfectly fine. A little bit over and overpay, but we're good. But one thing that maybe is still giving me a little bit of cause for concern is the Raptors depth chart. I'm going to break this down for you because I've seen a lot of people attempt to create a Raptors depth chart. I'm going to attempt to make a Raptors depth chart that I believe to be more accurate to what the Raptors actually play like. Now, it's very easy to call Emmanuel Quickly a point guard, but I don't actually think he's a point guard. In terms of functionally how he plays basketball, he thinks he's a point guard. I don't necessarily think he's a point guard. The Raptors do have 2 point guards. That's good news. It's good news. It's good news you have 2 point guards. And now you have 2 centers. That's also good news. The bad news is I don't think you have a starting point guard or a starting caliber point guard. And the closest thing you have to a starting caliber point guard is probably Scotty Barnes, who, if his handle gets a lot better, will often function as a point guard for you. So I understand it. You don't have to have a traditional point guard, and maybe all these positions are totally useless anyway. But this is what the depth chart actually looks like. At point guard, you have Jamal Shed and Chucky Hepburn. At shooting guard, you have Emmanuel Quickly and Jacoby Walter. At small forward, you have Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, RJ Barrett, Grady Dick, Ochai Baji, Garrett Temple, AJ Lawson, and Elijah Martin. Shocking to put Elijah Martin at the 3? No. If you've actually watched him play, you would understand that he is a 3. At the 4, you have Colin Murray-Boyles, Jonathan Mobo, Colin Castleton, and Ulrich Shamshi. And at center, you now have Jakob Poeltl and Sandro Mamukelashvili. So that's where we're at as a roster. Doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense to have this many small forwards, huh? Might make more sense to have, I don't know, a starting power forward because you don't have one. A starting point guard because you don't really have one. Now, how do you solve this problem? I don't know. Go out and get De'Aaron Fox. Boom. One problem solved. Now you have a starting point guard. Or go out and get Ja Morant. Boom. Another problem solved. You have a starting point guard. Or, I don't know, go out and get John Collins, man. No, I'm not really for that, but it at least balances out your roster. I'm going to want to take that back in 2 seconds. I'm not a John Collins fan. Positions really do come down to who can you defend, and that's sort of where we're at. So maybe if we prescribe more to the theory of basketball being this fluid thing where we're going to think of things in a more evolved way, then maybe this depth chart doesn't make sense. And maybe what we need to do is we need to say, well, Elijah Martin may be a 3 on offense, and Emmanuel Quickley might be a 2 on offense, but these guys are both functionally 1s on defense because neither one of them are really going to be able to guard up the position that I put them at. And maybe Colin Murray-Boyles and Jonathan Mobo are considered 4s, but they're also potentially capable of guarding some 5s. I think John Mobo is going to have to get a lot stronger before he plays full service backup 5 for you. And now, thanks you to, the addition of Sandro, he doesn't have to. I do wonder, what are you doing with all these wings, though? Who's playing and who's not playing? Because now if you look at your depth chart, let's assume everyone's healthy. Who's playing and who's not playing? And why does that matter? Well, it matters because you're not a championship team. I understand depth. I understand having a couple of guys who are maybe there as a break in case emergency arises type of guys, right? I totally get that. I do. By the way, shout outs to the 500 of you in here. Can you please like this video? That would be very, very much appreciated. That would be of huge service and actually lets other people know where to find us as well. So I appreciate that. And if you're not subbed up, please do subscribe. So that's kind of where we're at, right? Oh, wait a second. We got another super chat. Shout out from a Spurs fan in Texas. Mamu is a fan fave down here. Love the way you see the game and explain it. Cheers. Well, Guy and Prince, I got news for you. We're starting our Spurs podcast as well next month. You can definitely go find a link to it 2 lives ago. We linked it. It's called The Beautiful Game, tentatively The Beautiful Game podcast for now. So I'm going to be covering the San Antonio Spurs this year, and I'm super excited about that. That is actually giving me a lot of joy and a lot of happiness. I'm going to be covering the Raptors and the Spurs, and then when draft time comes around, we got to do a draft live. Guess what? 2 channels, simultaneous podcast, double up the content game. Plus, I already think like a lot of Raptor fans fuck with a lot of players on the Spurs. There's a lot of overlap. It's really cool. We have a lot of the same players they can go follow. Spurs fans will probably come and be Raptor fans as well because they need, we all need a team to kind of root for in each conference. I'm hoping to convert a lot of Spurs fans to Raptor fans. That'd be great. We have a lot of commonalities. Markets that are not really respected. Markets that both employed Jakob Poeltl, Thaddeus Young. Markets that have both valued the contributions of guys like Harrison Barnes, team first culture, innovative front office, Kawhi Leonard, DeMar DeRozan. Yeah, there's a lot. Jakob Poeltl, Sandro. There's a lot of overlaps between these 2 fan bases. And honestly, I love Spurs fans. So thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you very, very much. Joshua Monroe saying Brandon Ingram is taking up a lot of wing minutes, as he should. But you also need some insurance because Brandon Ingram has had a lot of injury issues. So let's think about this depth chart for a second. Okay. Where do we see this? I wish I had, one of those boards, like those little boards that you can draw on and I can just draw. Maybe that's something I need to invest in this year because that would be dope. If I could just pull up a pad, hook it up here, and then just write down the depth chart. That would be kind of innovative. That's not something I see a lot of other podcasters doing. So that'd be great. So let's just think about this. Point guard minutes. I think we could probably pencil in Emmanuel Quickley for about 32 minutes a night as a point guard, starting point guard. I think your starting shoe guard for now is going to be RJ Barrett. Your starting 3 is going to be Brandon. Your starting 4 is going to be Scotty, which I don't love. I prefer Scotty play the 2, but that's just the nature of this roster. If you were to trade RJ for anything right now, it would be a power forward. Swapping RJ for a power forward makes this entire roster make sense. Just so we're clear, 100%, right? That one trade makes everything work. My target would have been Cameron Johnson. I'm assuming that that is going to be, that would have come with a first round pick attached and probably an unprotected one, which I'm totally cool not moving. Jeremy Grant attach an asset to that. No, they would be the ones attaching assets in this case. RJ's on a better contract than Jeremy Grant. That's nuts. Who is your starting five? Well, I'm getting to that, but that'll be Emmanuel Quickly at the 1, RJ Barrett at the 2, TBD until further notice. Scotty and Brandon at the 3-4 in whichever position. Scotty is more capable of guarding fours than Brandon Ingram. Ingram is more capable of, well, Ingram is not more capable of guarding any position than Scotty, but he'll probably function better as a 3 defensively. And then you have Jakob Poeltl at the 5 playing ideally 25 minutes a night. You don't need to stress Jakob Poeltl now that he is in his 30s. So you can have Sandro come in and play the minutes that Yak doesn't play. So let's just say Yak plays 25, Sandro plays 20-ish, sucking up most of the center minutes. Anything they don't play, obviously, Connor Boyles, Scotty Barnes can easily fill in for a few minutes in between a quarter at the 5. You have some lineup versatility here. What's also important is all of the players who are going to play 5 for you make good decisions with the basketball. You don't have bad decision makers. This is the drawback of a Miles Turner. It got exposed in last year's playoffs. He's not a good processor of the court. There were a lot of turnovers, a lot of missed passes. You don't have a center who makes those mistakes. CMB, if he's playing center, Mobo playing center, Scotty playing center, Mamu playing center, Yak playing center, shit, even Ulrich has playmaking upside. So these are all guys who have, good. Cell TV saying, "What's up, Penn? What's good, man?" So I think that's a positive. So let's say that's your center rotation. How's your power forward rotation? What's going to be Scotty and CMB? I mean, you're not drafting a guy top 10 and then not playing him at all. This is not like picking up Pascal Siakam. One of the big reasons you picked him up is because he's NBA ready. That's why you passed on Carter Bryant and Noah Senge and Kaman Malawach, is because I'm assuming Masai Ujiri didn't think that Bobby Webster's job was worth getting those guys. So if you're aiming for it, probably the right move is going to be Scotty playing 35 minutes a night and then 13 minutes a night, let's say, go to CMB, okay, as the backup 4. So now the 3, and again, I'm assuming Scotty's going to play some 1, going to play some 2, 3, whatever, but let's just say for the intents and purposes of not putting people at different positions, this is sort of how this is going to break down. Scotty plays 35 minutes a night. So now your small forward is Brandon Ingram. Once again, I would keep his minutes somewhat low to keep the load low, 30 minutes a night. I wouldn't play him an excessive amount. The Raptors are going to play a lot of physical defense. They're going to play fast pace. That's a lot of possessions. More possessions equal more injury history, more injury luck, whatever, bad luck. And with the prevalence of Achilles tears, honestly, this is not something I want to even put on Brandon Ingram. So I'm going to be really slow with BI until the playoffs come around. And then we can start ramping up minutes. No back-to-backs. Well, maybe not no back-to-backs, but I would play him less on back-to-backs. Anytime there's a back-to-back situation, I'm probably holding him to about 25 to 28 minutes. I know that the conversation around BI was we want him to be an all-star this year. I want him to be healthy. As a well-wishing fan of Brandon Ingram, who has been a really big fan of Brandon Ingram since his days at Duke, I don't want this guy having a season-ending injury, because that is really going to fuck the Raptors over at $40 million a year. Plus, he has a player option. That's not good, man. You really don't want a serious injury here. So my goal going into the season is, if we're going to play physical, we're going to play fast. We're going to take care of our players. So Brandon Ingram, I'm going to put him at 30 minutes a night. Behind him, if you want to win basketball games, probably the right move is Ochai Agbaji. Probably. That's probably the right move. Okay? But that's probably not what they're going to do, right? It's probably going to be Grady Dick, and then Ochai Agbaji is going to get third string. It could make some sense as well. It sort of diminishes the value of Ochai on the open market. There's values to there's a value to playing Grady Dick over Ochai. I think he's a much better scorer, and I think he is a better processor of the court. Obviously, he's a much worse defender. He is less switchable. He's less positionally versatile, but there's some value to playing Grady there. So let's just say Grady gets, for now, the backup 2 minutes behind Brandon Ingram. Now, that means that you are shafting a lot of players. You're going to be shafting Ochai Agbaji, but you're also going to be shafting who is not even on my list. Jamison Battle. My bad. He's not even on my depth chart. My bad, Jamison Battle. Should have been there. My bad. Okay. So Jamison Battle. Assume the starting shooting guard is RJ Barrett, another guy that I would limit to about 30 minutes, not because I'm worried about injuries, but because I'm worried about his defensive impact. And behind him, 18 minutes a night, I would play Jakob Poeltl. And then the point guard position, and that's going to be all Immanuel Quickley and Jamal Shead. So we imagine Immanuel Quickley, 32 minutes a night, Jamal Shead, 16 minutes a night. And there's your 10-man rotation. That's 10 guys. It's not too bad. If you want to stretch it to 11 and include Ochai Agbaji as your 11th guy, it's probably going to be him, John Mobo as your, those are your 11th. That's your 11th and 12th guy. Who's your 13th guy in this roster? Maybe Jamison Battle, maybe Elijah Martin, right? Maybe Ulrich. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of competition. But you're deeper today than you were before. Is this a roster that makes a ton of sense? No, not really. Because obviously in an ideal world, you can play Ochai. The problem is right now, what you desperately need, especially in light of this recent signing of Mamu, is you need a consolidation 2-for-1 trade. You probably need to trade 2 of your wing players for a big. And I don't mean a big as in like a big lumbering big, but a stretchable 4. Someone who can competently guard 4s, someone who can play 4s. And what this will do, ideally, is it will allow Scotty to play more on the perimeter, which I think is where he needs to be. So, yeah, I mean, like 4th string centers, what are we doing here? Reether saying, do we like the Jakob Poeltl deal? You're free to like what you want. I don't. I don't like it at all. Who is your 6th man? It's a good question. Based on my minutes distribution, it would probably have to be Jacoby, right? It would be Jacoby and Grady. Those are your 6 men. So those guys come off the bench. Lauri Markkanen, a little rich, a little expensive, especially when you talk about how much you already paid Jakob Poeltl. That's going to be a lot, right? Oh, thank God. Yo, you just made my day. Where'd you read this? Okay. I feel totally different about this now. Switch up 100%. If the last year is $5 million guaranteed, I like this much more. And actually, okay, shout outs to Jake Fisher. That's amazing. So if only $5 million is guaranteed on that final deal, I love it because that's perfect. This is perfect. Great. Okay. Yes. That changes everything. 100%. Do you know what I'm gonna give myself a compliment here? It's very obnoxious to pay yourself a compliment in front of 500 people. I can tell you something that really bothers me about other people that I try to work on with myself is I don't like people who become very fixed on one opinion. And then when information changes, they stick to the opinion because they think that doubling down is the only way to save themselves. No, I was wrong. If the final deal is if the final year is only $5 million guaranteed, this deal is a steal. And I'll tell you why. Because that is basically 2 expirings. That's an expiring in 2028 and that's an expiring in 2029. The $5 million guaranteed is perfect. It's great. It removes the year that I hated the most from this, and I'll give you another plus. If you assume 26 plus 28 plus 19, if you consider that all as one deal, forget about how it breaks down. How it breaks down is irrelevant because he wasn't going to pick up his player option, right? If you think of it all as one, that's a 3-year deal, right? So what does that really break down to? That's about 64. Yeah, it's about $25 million a year, $24 million a year. That's not bad. That's right under Nick Claxton money. Perfect. That last year being $5 million guaranteed. Good job, Bobby Webster. I give Bobby Webster's first deal an A+, which is Sandro, Mamukelashvili, I give him a plus for that deal. Shout outs to Bobby Webster. I give his second deal, second transaction, which is this deal, which I've now found out, by the way, just scrub your mind from the previous take, me hating on it. If this is in fact true, what Jake Fisher is saying, and I have no reason to believe that he's lying, so I'm going to take it as gospel. If this is the deal with the $5 million guaranteed on the last one, then I give his second deal a B plus. It's B plus, not an A plus, B plus. I would have preferred a little bit less, but at least it's not a D or a C plus as what I would have previously given it. This changes everything. Mintu Hardeep Sandhu. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna actually try to say this correctly. Sandro. Okay, Sandro Mamukelashvili is making me realize that I really value getting names correct. So I'm going to try to say this as correctly as possible. I want to be clear about something. My girlfriend is currently doing Duolingo, trying to learn Hindi. So she's trying to get, we're working on this, and I listened to her getting a lot of these pronunciations. So I think we were at a party a couple of weeks ago, and we were listening to two people converse in Hindi, and we were like looking at each other like, we can understand some of this stuff now. This is really great. So let's try to say this right. Mintu Hardeep Sandhu. Am I correct? Okay, anyways, who are some power forwards you would like the Raptors to go after? Well, unfortunately, some of them have signed up. I think Josh Minot would have been a small ball power forward. It's worth noting. Let's dig into this. Let's not be hasty. You have given us a $25 super chat. Let's try to honor that. Also, big shout outs to Ron Clappison. Thank you so much for the super chat. Did not attach a message to this, but I'm assuming this is just a vote of support, and I appreciate your support. So thank you very much for this. So let's get into available power forwards. Hold on. Let's check this out. And if not, we can just look at NBA salaries of players making around that much money and see who the Raptors could potentially trade for. Give me one sec here. I'm going to pull this up. Salaries, NBA. Okay. Continue with the supporting. Okay. So player salaries. So let's first talk about players who are under contract, who are around that range. Now, the Raptors don't have any room to play with. So they're not hard capped. They're not a second apron team, whatever. But if you're making a deal for RJ Barrett, you're going to have to trade for somebody who makes either close to exactly what RJ makes, less than what RJ makes, or if that player makes a little bit more than what RJ makes, you're going to have to actually attach a player to make the salary work. So you're going to have to attach Ochai or something like that. So again, 2 for 1, right? Players that I would love for the Raptors to target. Jalen Johnson, ungettable for now, but if the Hawks fall apart, maybe this is a player that you can add a couple first-round picks and go out and get him. It would be a good fit for the Raptors. That would be a good fit. I'm just talking fit right now. Tobias Harris is on an expiring contract. Not a fan. John Collins, expiring contract. Not a fan. If they tear it apart nah, I wouldn't. But Draymond Green makes around that money. Not a great deal for them. Nick Claxton does offer you on a descending contract, by the way. So that's the other thing that a lot of people don't realize about Nick Claxton's contract is it is descending. So it started at 26 million, but it goes down. Another player that I would love to target is Trey Murphy. Now, Trey is a 3-4 combo. He can competently play the 4. His defense did regress a lot last year, but at 25 million, his deal escalates up to 31 million 4 years from now. I think he's a steal. I would love him. I think he's awesome. Jaden McDaniels is another player who can play power forward. Maybe a little bit slight of frame, but very, very valuable type of player. Aaron Gordon would be another one. I don't think that they would trade him. He makes $22 million this year, but then he gets very expensive after that. 31 million, 34 million, 37 million. He is a stretch 4 now. He is competently hitting his threes. I think there was that entire kerfuffle over the Cronkies. I don't know which Cronky. It was one of the Cronkies. Josh Cronky, Bill Cronky, David Cronky. I don't know what the guy's first name, who said it, but the owner of the Denver Nuggets talked about the wanting to avoid the disastrous outcome of having to trade number 15, which is Nikola Jokic. So Aaron Gordon's very expensive. They just got rid of Michael Porter Jr. I do believe that Cameron Johnson is got like 1 year left. So if they have to extend him, maybe they read the writing on the wall. If Aaron Gordon's having a down season, I very much doubt that they would trade Aaron Gordon, but he does get very expensive down the line. So the Raptors would have to commit to paying the tax to get him, but he would be an upgrade for sure. Any other names that stick out? Oh, I apologize. Cameron Johnson has this year and next year left on his deals. So take a note, Raptor fans. This is when you should trade players, when they still have 2 years left on their deals. A player that I think could work is Harrison Barnes. Now, Harrison is not exactly a bulky power forward, but he's capable of guarding power forward much better than most small forwards are. He's played a lot of small ball forward in his life, and he's on an expiring contract. He can space the floor. He's the type of smart, intelligent. I just doubled up on that. Smart, intelligent. He's the type of player that you win basketball games with. So I like Harrison Barnes a lot. It's consummate professional, doubles up on what you like about Jakob Poeltl and Garrett Temple, provides you another voice in the locker room. You're awfully young at this point. You know, Sandro is 26, just turned 26. RJ is, I think, 25. Scotty is about to turn 24. Emmanuel quickly is 25. You have a lot of really young players, and you've added 3 rookies to this deal after adding 4 rookies last year, all of whom expect to be on the roster. Doesn't hurt you to get a little bit older, especially if it allows you to get off of RJ's money. Now, obviously, the Spurs would have to bite the bullet. They would have to value RJ Barrett. Probably not going to value RJ Barrett because they already have Devin Vassell on the roster. But Harrison Barnes is a viable option if you just want to dump RJ's salary and not have to pay him next year. Rui Hachimura is not a player that I would touch. Not a fan of players who don't play defense. Patrick Williams is a guy that you could look at. Now, again, what do you need? Who is he? What do you want? You know, that sort of thing. Patrick Williams is a guy who can competently stretch the floor. He is younger. He is worse. He's not anywhere near the playmaker, driver, whatever. But he's, and they consider him very expensive, by the way, at $18 million. But if you really, really want to break down who Patrick Williams is as a basketball player, I really don't think he's that bad. Has he lived up to the billing of 4th overall pick? No, of course not, man. He's nowhere close to a lottery pick in terms of what he's providing. He's just kind of, let's call it like he's just kind of moved into. Hold on one second. Let me just look this up for a sec. I just want to see his numbers real quick last year. Patrick Williams. And I mean, the Bulls could be desperate to move off of him too. So that's something worth noting. Like they may just not want him, and you can get him on the cheap. So look this up real quick. I mean, his analytics look just so dog shit, man. He's so bad. But he's a better defender than RJ Barrett. True shooting percentage is abysmal, 52%. Oh my God. Like everything is so bad. 3-point attempt rate is great. In terms of a player type, he's a much better player type than RJ Barrett. He is 6'7" with a 7-foot wingspan. So this is once again, you're ranging into small ball forward, but it saves you money. Can you rehab him? I don't know. I don't know if you could rehab him. I think he's an awful contract. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Looking at any other players, 4s that could be available, that would be available. Santi Aldama, it's just awesome. If we could trade for him, I would trade RJ for Santi Aldama, and it'd probably add something to get him to. That would rebalance the shit out of this roster. Another player that could be available at some point is Jonathan Isaac. He makes $15 a year this year, and then he pretty much makes $15 million a year for the next 4 years. That adds rim protection, an actual 4, but it also adds another player who has a tremendous injury history. So maybe you don't want to do that. Looking at any other players, Obi Toppin, $14 million. If they decide to truly tear it apart. Herb Jones, $14 million. I mean, he's a 3-4, definitely capable of guarding a lot of 4s. He makes $14 million a year. The Pelicans don't have a clue as to what they're doing. So maybe that's a player that you could definitely trade for. Kelly Olynyk, 13 million, been there, done that. We've kind of already seen the Kelly Olynyk experience. He really fell off defensively with the Raptors, but maybe with a little bit more system around him, he could provide you a little bit of that spacing and give you another stretch 5 or stretch 4 that can do some stuff. Any other players that I would actually target here as a 4? Matisse Thybulle is more like a 3, but he's on an expiring 11 million. Anyone else? Anyone else? Anyone else? Maxi Kleber is also 11 million, expiring. Smart player. Not sure he fits. Clint Capella just signed a 2-year. I don't understand the Clint Capella deal. I think he's washed. I think that deal is going to be horrible. I don't know. I don't know why people are celebrating it, but I get center depth is center depth. Who would you guys rather have? Clint Capella at the minimum or Sandro at the minimum? Answer that question. I'll learn a lot about your basketball intelligence on that one. Kyle Anderson makes $9 million a year in a potential package for RJ Barrett. If you got back Kyle Anderson, not the worst deal. He's a solid defender, not a good shooter though. Jalen Smith, another guy who makes $9 million a year. So I've pretty much gone through the entire list of players that I would consider in that range. Goga Batadze is another one. $8 million a year. You would have to take back. I mean, if you were to be able to trade, now here's a deal, and I don't know why the Magic would do this, but if you were able to do Goga plus Jonathan Isaac for RJ Barrett and you're the team adding picks, are you mad at that swap? Maybe, because you're like, what are we really doing here? But if it was a heavily protected first, it really does rebalance your roster a lot. And if you added Ochai, if they were exceptionally high on Ochai and RJ, and they just wanted to get some shooting via Ochai, I don't know. Maybe there's some players on your roster you can actually trade. Mamu by a mile. So that's the thing, right? Like, why? I'm pretty sure no one is really talking about this right now. I'm not saying nobody. Obviously, Raptor fans are excited their team finally made a move. But I feel like people really didn't watch Mamu this year. And I did. And I'm a fan of this type of player. Foil saying Clint. Meh. Why? Why? Why him? I don't get it. Not at all. If anyone wants to call in and discuss this, the link is in the description. We're about an hour and 17 minutes. Probably not going to last much longer if there isn't a call in. But if you want to call in and talk about anything, Raptors Summer League, Raptors depth, Raptors trades, you want to talk about Mamu, you want to, I don't know if you're a Spurs fan who's listening to this, because I know a lot of Spurs fans have started listening to PENSARE Basketball because I announced that I was going to be covering the Spurs next season. So if you're a Spurs fan who happened to have watched Mamu last year and you want to give us some insights on what you liked or didn't like about him, happy to listen to you guys talk about that. But yes, the link is in the description. Call in, really simple. And if there's no call-ins, that's totally cool too. We can just have this moment, man. I'm telling you, like, I mean, I created a little reel. I haven't done that in a while. Like, create a little welcome reel for a player. Didn't do one for Elijah. Didn't do one for, CMB. Didn't do one for Chucky Hepburn. Certainly didn't do one last offseason. So, it's been a while since the Raptors have signed a player that I'm just like genuinely excited to watch, who I think fits. And philosophically, it almost felt like when they passed on Maxime Renault, I was like, is this team allergic to shooting? Like, do they just not care? And now when you see it roll out this way, I didn't think in a million years that he would sign for the minimum. It just and thank you to Jake Fisher, because I now suddenly feel a lot better about the Jakob Poeltl trade as well. So this is great. This is a great day to be a Raptor fan. When's the last time I said that? This is a great day to be a Raptor fan. When the fuck is the last day I said that? I certainly didn't say it when the Raptors slid from 7th to 9th. I certainly didn't say it when they drafted CMV over Carter Bryant. I didn't say it when they drafted Elijah Martin over, Maxime Renault. I didn't say it, when the Raptors inexplicably won a whole bunch of games to end the season. I mean, obviously, like, don't take any negativity to mean that I don't believe in this team. I definitely believe in this team. Tariq said, I think he said that Brandon Ingram came here. Yeah. That was it. I was happy about the Brandon Ingram trade, and I am still happy about the Brandon Ingram trade. I feel like, it's funny. It's like the new shiny toy thing. There's a recency bias. Brandon Ingram, it feels like a million years ago that the Raptors traded for him. It was obviously around the February trade deadline, and he didn't play for us. And now it's a little bit out of sight, out of mind, which is what BI brought up. Brandon Ingram is a better player than every single player who's been signed this offseason. Best, I think. I think he's the best. That's my opinion. I think he's better than. Yeah, he's better than Miles Turner. He's better than these guys. So yeah, like teams are going like, oh, our championship odds are tilted because of this player and that player, and it's just like you can't. I think you have to maybe also ask yourself, situational fit, happiness, etc. Right? I was saying for years that Dyson Daniels was going to blow up the minute they traded some people to get him out of the way and get him some minutes, and it just felt like for a couple of years it wasn't going to happen from the Pelicans. And then boom, he leaves the Pelicans, and we're talking about MIP, DPOY type of conversations. So it's like next year when Brandon Ingram is on a structurally sound team with structurally sound coaching, and he's not in the cursed, New Orleans organization, and he's not surrounded by distractions. And I don't know if y'all watch The Pivot. I highly suggest it. It's my favorite podcast, 100%. The Pivot podcast. Yo, DeJounte Murray got on there and he eviscerated the Pelicans organization for, not even being able to get gym time, practice time. So, there's a X account called Ingram Alerts or some sort of super fan. And he said, my Brandon Ingram really went to the Pelicans of the East because I guess the Raptors were catching some strays for some reason. I can't even tell you how far that is from the truth. Can't even tell you. Okay, we got Vince. Vince, what's up, man?
Yo, buddy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I, like you, was ecstatic at the Mamu signing. I didn't even know he was a
Where
free
are you?
agent. I'm at my new house.
Oh
This is
shit!
yeah. Do you want a quick tour? This is our backyard. That's the house
Oh,
right
that's
there.
dope.
Yeah, and so we actually have this sick little outdoor kitchen thing. We got like a pizza oven thing over there. We got this beautiful cabana built. It's like it's kind of like a little home away from home, but it's attached to the home.
That's amazing.
Yeah, bro.
A cynic might assume that you've become homeless now because you just showed me a whole bunch of spots and they're all outside. So
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
you didn't really
I
show me.
promise
You're
you,
like,
yeah,
there's
there's
an
some shit
actual
there.
home there. Okay, okay,
There's a
got
home
you, got you,
attached to it.
got you. No, that
Listen,
looks
man,
dope, man. That looks
I,
dope.
I
You look
am
happy.
I am a I am a simple man, so really this outdoor cabana is where we're going to be living for the most part throughout the spring and summer and
Uh,
fall probably.
Honestly, bro, like if I had a house, and I've never had a house, I've only had condos my whole life, but if I ever had a house, I would do the first thing I would do. Have you seen those offices that they allow you to build in the backyard? It's almost like a
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
self-containing cube. I
yeah,
told my girlfriend, I'm like, that's the first thing I'm getting. I don't care if it costs $5,000, $6,000. Sit in my office, podcast studio, and I'm gonna be outside all the
dude.
time. I'm gonna be
Okay,
one
I
with
hear.
nature.
Uh, take a little pause from NBA for 2 seconds. So one of the selling features on this house for me was this like little shed that was connected. So that this they used as a storage area for like lawnmowers and shit. But this is eventually going to be my studio.
Oh,
So
that's dope.
I'm gonna do all my music recording from in there,
Are
and
you gonna
it's
add like the sound
oh yeah yeah
soundproofing and
yeah do
everything? Yeah, yeah.
yeah soundproof it and weatherproof it and do all that fun stuff to make sure that we don't bug the neighbors, but also am isolated acoustically from the elements and
Is that where you
this.
where is that where you're gonna be calling in from?
Oh, dude, yeah. Yeah, yeah. At
Okay.
some point, like, hopefully by, I don't know, Jesus, I don't even know how long it's going to take to convert that thing. But at some point down the line, I will be calling from in there. Unless it's just beautiful outside, I'll always be calling from outside.
That's dope, man. I'm happy for you. That's awesome. This is great. Okay. Uh MJ saying, can we hire Vince as team president? He's clearly great at building. There you go. There
I
we
am a good
go.
people person. I've skirted by on forging connections with people my entire life. Um, I got to know my TAs really well in school because God knows academics alone weren't gonna get me by.
How the hell are
But
we friends? How are we friends? I'm the exact opposite. I'm terrible at building relationships with people. I think I burn so many bridges. I don't know. I'm not a people person at all. I have
opposites
many
attract.
many
Oh,
times
I
many
don't
times
agree with you.
Well, I mean, I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better at
Yeah.
it. But like
You're
I feel like 10 years ago, I just pretty much committed myself to the idea. I'm like, I don't think I'm built for civilized society. I'm gonna go buy myself a cabin in the woods and make friends with squirrels.
how long have you and your girlfriend been together?
5 years.
So there you go. Come on. You can't be that bad. If one woman has put up with you for 5 years, you're not as bad as you think, I'm sure.
I'm gonna have her on a call one. She probably listening to this right now and laughing her ass off. I'm gonna be
Yeah,
honest. Like she's probably like, yeah, and not a second longer. Um,
bro. We're
yeah.
gonna have you guys over soon enough for sure.
Okay, can't wait. That's gonna be super dope.
Yeah.
Okay, so talk to me about Mamu, man. I'm happy about this. I'm gonna tell you, like, you know that song, the Numa Numa, you know that song.
Yeah.
I put a mix to that, and I was preparing my coffee for this live, and I started doing a little bit of dance. I started dancing a little bit. I was watching Mamu highlights and dancing a little bit. I'm like, when the fuck's the last time the Raptors made a move that made me want to dance a little bit? Scotty Barnes.
Well,
Okay, so that's the last time I was happy with a move that the Raptors made to the point that it made me want to dance a little bit. It's pretty cool.
well, when the alert came in that that Miles Turner signed with the Bucks, I was pretty pissed because I was just like, why? What? For all we know, they were trying to get in on him. Who knows? But I'm just like that. This is the guy you need a guy like that. You need a guy with that kind of skill set to complement the rest of this team.
Right.
He's not the passer that Poeltl is, but like he can stretch the floor.
Mhm.
Like even if I feel like he had kind of a down year shooting the three, but the centers have to respect them out there. They can't just sag back and say go ahead, let it fly.
Mm.
And so when I saw that, I was like, what the fuck? The Bucks had to stretch and waive Dame and then sign him. Like we couldn't put some sort of sign and trade together where we incorporated RJ or RJ and Poeltl and then signed them. But if Mamu was the backup plan, I'm happy with that because I think he's been criminally underrated.
He fits
Um,
better. He fits better than Miles Turner. I'll tell you why. Because when you start Xing off, uh, let's say skill sets, right? Let's just say let's just Excel sheet basketball for a second, right?
sure, like
Let
playmaking for shot blocking that you get that with Mamu, right?
I think the playmaking would be a concession for the shot blocking if Mamu himself wasn't an okay shot blocker, which he is.
Is he a good shot blocker?
He's all right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Listen,
Hold on.
maybe.
I'm gonna check this out here. One sec. I'm actually hold on. I'm gonna be total casual here. I'm gonna compare him to Miles Turner as a in that stat hub bullshit, and we're gonna see how
Okay.
we're gonna see how these two players actually stack out because one of these players got paid a lot more, and one
Oh
of them
yeah.
has been a lot more hyped. And I think a lot of this comes down to the fact that I genuinely believe if you're drafted late, you continue to be underrated for pretty much your entire career. Like I've
Sure.
always felt that way. So hold on a second. Let's compare. Okay, we got it pulled up. Where are we at? Okay, stat head. Let's compare these two players. So I'm gonna go per 100 possessions, which is fair. And okay, Mamu, more rebounds, more assists, more steals. Okay, way less blocks. I got you. 3.2 versus 1.2. That's a big gap.
Right.
More
Yeah.
points, fewer turnovers.
More
Slightly
assists.
lower free throw percentage, slightly lower 3-point percentage, way higher 2-point percentage. So
Oh shit.
56 versus 67 is a big gap.
Well, I did not
2.3
realize it. Yeah.
2.3 box plus minus versus 0.4.
Yeah.
Valuable.
Yeah.
0.152 win shares per 48 versus 0.10
Right.
win Mamu. You know, usage percentage damn near identical. So similar role on the offensive end.
Right.
62.8% true shooting versus 61.2.
Wow.
Higher PER, higher true shooting percentage, higher rebound percentage, higher assist percentage, higher steal percentage, lower turnover percentage, higher usage, higher win shares, higher box plus minus. My God, man, this is a sweep. Apart from the
Right.
shot blocking, this is a sweep. Now, obviously, I'm not stupid enough to tell you that he is close to Miles Turner as a player,
Right.
but he's not that far. And that's what
No,
I'm
he's
saying.
as a
He's worth
backup.
10.
You're
He's worth
sacrificing.
7 to 10.
Yeah.
To me,
Your
he's worth.
first.
Go ahead. Sorry.
You're sacrificing defense. Like his defensive box plus minus is -1 per 100,
Yeah.
and Turner's plus 0.4. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a fairly significant gap. But we're not getting him for defense.
Yeah, and also like Turner played the bulk of his minutes against starting lineups. Sandro played the bulk of his minutes as a bench player.
Totally.
So again, like I'm not saying that they're equal. I'm not saying they're close to equal. I'm saying if Miles Turner is worth 27 million, Mamu is worth 10.
Right.
And Mamu
Right.
is younger by 3 years. So
well, it kind of begs the question, why the player option? Why not just give him a couple more years?
You're not getting you wouldn't get you couldn't get him without that player option. That player option is why you got him. So
Right.
from Mamu's side, this is a 1-year prove 'em. That's it. That's all this
Right.
is. This is exactly
Right.
what Gary Trent Jr. signed last year. And if he really does prove it for you, he's going to be an expensive asset next year. If he
Right.
shoots it cold, he has the player option to try again. This is ultimate player control and ultimate team salary. So
Right.
you got to look at that from the, since we're grooming you to be the president of the Raptors, you got to figure this out right now.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. I'm
So
gonna need some schooling.
yeah, you're gonna have to give something to get something, and sometimes it's a matter of dollar versus term. And I think the Raptors signing him a short-term deal, it's a good deal for him, and also a huge opportunity for him. Again, there's only 30
Right.
NBA teams, and he's going to be able to potentially be on a playoff team and be the de facto backup center.
Right. Right.
So I think it's an opportunity, man. And if Jakob Poeltl goes down, 30 minutes a night for Sandro. So
That's awesome.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
I'm really psyched. I didn't even know he was a free agent. The only free agent out there that I thought would be great was Miles Turner. Obviously, I didn't think Indiana was going to let him walk for anything. I don't know who their starting center is now. Like Darius Walker, who's Obi Toppin. Who's their starting center?
I really don't know. I mean,
oh, sorry, the guy
Thomas
who got
Bryant
hurt last year.
Thomas Bryant. Oh,
he got hurt last year. He was on Chicago.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about, and I'm forgetting.
I can't remember his name. Right?
Jalen Smith.
Yeah, that's it. Maybe he.
I mean, they got Smith, they got Bradley, they're okay.
Right.
I think Miles Turner is overrated. I really think he's overrated as hell.
I think
he's.
I agree. I agree that there was that concern. Like, it's stretch bigs are at a premium. How many are there in the league? There's a really good one in San Antonio.
He's an overrated defender, man. He is an overrated defender. He is an understatedly bad rebounder. So with next to Pascal Siakam, you're always going to get crushed on the glass. It is somewhat of a miracle that they made it out as far as they did, but I think on many nights, I don't think he was their second best big. I think Obi came in and really outplayed him a lot. If they want to lean into more Pascal ball, you need space. So I understand. And it kind of sucks for Pascal because his stint with I always wanted to play with Miles Turner only lasted a year and a half. There was a good ping pong between those two players, but
for sure.
I can't say for sure that I think what does this do for Milwaukee though? I mean, you're paying, and this is a crazy thing because people are going to look at Miles Turner's contract and be like, oh, 27 million. That's pretty decent for a starting center. In order to pay him the 27, you're paying Damian Lillard $22 million a year for the next 5 years to not play basketball for you.
Right.
Miles Turner is not a better player than Damian Lillard. So granted, impulsivity, marshmallow experiment, Dame not playing next year. I get it. Maybe when he comes back, he's not going to be as good. But Miles Turner is also close to 30. He's been playing for a really long time. So if Miles Turner has any slippage, you're paying $49 million a year. Yeah. $49 million for Miles Turner is the actual sum. So if I'm Giannis and he pushed for this is the act of impulsivity. I think teams lean on their star players to make calls sometimes, like who do you want? Oh, you like this guy? You like that guy? I kind of wish Scotty had made a call for Josh Minot. That would have been great, but nevertheless, didn't make it.
I liked him too.
But here we have Giannis making a call for Miles, and presumably, Kevin Durant making a call for Clint Capella. So
I'm wondering. So a couple things. I'm wondering if, so Milwaukee has no guards, no ball handlers right now. They just
Right.
signed Gary Trent. You're not giving him the ball. We know that. Are they going to go out and sign Brogdon? Because that's a target that I would like for the Raptors, as like a backup point guard, but maybe it's too much of a luxury given their payroll structure right now.
Malcolm would be a game changer for us for sure. Another
Yeah.
player with a lot of injury issues, but
Yeah, for sure.
definitively a good player. Like, again, I draw that line at about 200 in terms of like real high level rotation players in the NBA. And then the
Right.
other 250 guys are just fringy, lose you minutes, young guys, specialists, defensive one-way liabilities. I call them one-way liabilities, which is to say
Yep.
either they're a spot-up shooter that can't defend or they're a defender who can't shoot. So
Yep.
I think Brogdon is in the upper 200 of players in the league.
I mean, 1-to-1. If all things are equal, I think Brogdon is better than Fred. Like if everybody's playing not hurt, right? I think he's a slightly bigger body. Maybe he can't keep up with the quicks, the quick guards as much as Fred has. Although there's been slippage from his side on that.
Mhm.
But he's a bigger body, stronger body, a very respectable 3-point shooter. Gets in the lane with craft.
Yeah.
You know, better finisher at the rim than Fred. Like not
Sure.
like he's not known for his rim finishing. He's not getting above the rim and dunking, but like he's a capable finisher at the rim. And if you watch his run with Milwaukee after Bledsoe,
Mhm.
how did they get him to begin with? Like, how did the Bledsoe to him transition happen? Was that like did they have him on the roster and then he just graduated, or did they trade for him?
I think they traded for him, but I'm gonna check. But yeah, like I mean, like
It would have been
historic,
2020, 2021, sometime around
yeah,
that.
like historically speaking, this is a player who has been criminally underrated, right?
Yeah.
And he is coming off a season where he shot 28% from three,
Oh,
which
his
is
last year was a
10,
write-off.
yeah, like 10% lower than what is typically him,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, in terms of the question you asked, what was the question you asked? Sorry, I'm just on the page. What question you asked? How did he get from Milwaukee to Indiana?
No, how did he get to Milwaukee after they broke up with Bledsoe?
He was drafted.
Was he drafted by Milwaukee?
Yeah, he was a 36th overall pick.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And they traded him for Drew, and then they traded Drew for Dame.
Yeah. So he was, let's see here. So, yeah. Sign and trade for future picks, actually. So, hold on. June 29th, 2019, the Bucks extended a qualifying offer to Brogdon to make him a restricted free agent. Brogdon signed with the Indiana Pacers via sign and trade with the Bucks in exchange for future picks. He signed a contract with the Pacers for $85 million over those 4 years. So this was not
then they
the Drew
topped it.
Holiday. This was not the Drew Holiday thing. Then in 2022, he was traded to the Boston Celtics in exchange for Aaron Nesmith, Nick Stauskas, shout out to Nick Stauskas, Daniel Tice, Malik
Nick
Fitz,
Rocks.
Jawan Morgan, and a 2023 first round pick. And then he was sort of dumped to the Portland Trailblazers in light of, injuries and stuff with Robert Williams. And that was the deal that got them Drew Holiday.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, these players have been somewhat connected. In terms of him versus Fred, I think Fred has a higher market right now just on defense and shooting alone, volume, shooting, etc. But I don't think the gap is that far. And so, yes, I could imagine a situation where some nights Malcolm, if you have Malcolm Brogdon on your team, that he could be a better player than Emmanuel Quickley even. Wouldn't shock me at all.
No, having him come in to stabilize some of the young guys as well, to teach Jamal Shed the ropes, that'd be where do the Raptors sit? I have no idea about the cap minutia right now. Where do they sit? I think
they're
I saw
just
you
under the luxury tax with this Sandro move. they are technically over the luxury tax in terms of calculation purposes for the apron because of unlikely incentives for RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly, Jakob Poeltl, etc. have baked in incentives into their contracts.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean,
Can the Wiz take on money if there was like a
yes,
sign and trade for
yes.
RJ, and then maybe you don't want to start stacking picks along with RJ at this point. Maybe a couple seconds. Would they do RJ in a couple seconds
For who?
for Brogdon, and then sign Brogdon to a not crazy contract, but give him a little something?
I think at this point, Malcolm Brogdon, at this age, with his injury history, is probably worth in this market 12 million 2 years.
Yeah, totally.
So you're asking them to just absorb salary, right? And I'm not sure how
Yeah.
much cap space they actually have to do that, but let me just double check here. So let's just see Wizards cap sheet here. Cap.
RJ comes in as a young vet on that team. Might work.
Sure. So as of right now, they actually have a lot of salary, dude. Yeah. So they don't have a lot of wiggle room here. Wait.
Washington.
Yeah, Washington.
Really?
Okay, so
Wait,
wait a
they just got
second.
rid of Jordan Poole. Who the fuck do they have on their? It's all rookies.
Okay.
It's
So they have 33 million Chris Middleton. Wait, why? Okay, they have not.
Oh, right.
They have not. What the fuck?
They
No,
have
no,
they
no,
have
no. Wait.
Marcus Smart too. Yeah. They got guys.
They still have Corey Kesper, right? Rashawn
Yeah.
Holmes technically still paying him. Alex Starr. Yeah, so I mean they're not cheap. They can't just. I don't think they can just absorb that much money. But they do have 33 million under the first apron. So I do think they could take a deal where they're sending less and we're getting more. So here's a thought. Would you do Marcus Smart? Wait, if you're doing a sign and trade, can you combine players on sign and trade? I don't think you can. I think you have to just do a sign and trade by itself. So that's the problem. That is the problem. But okay, sticking on the Wizards, would you do nah, they just don't have the players, man. I was gonna say, would you do Marcus Smart and something? So if Chris Middleton was already signed to like a $5 million deal, would you do Marcus Smart and Chris Middleton for RJ Barrett straight up just to
In a
balance out your
fucking
roster?
heartbeat.
Yeah,
In a
so
heartbeat.
you'd be giving them the young player that's the better player, and they'd be giving you the two players who actually impact winning a little bit more.
Although we
Yeah.
wouldn't be getting Brogdon, who is a guy that I would want to be targeting from the very. I would. Can you
Well,
swap
that's
out
what I said.
Smart?
I said Marcus Smart and Malcolm Brogdon for RJ Barrett.
Oh, you said Chris Middleton. Okay,
Oh,
so
my bad.
Yeah,
I didn't mean
yeah,
Chris Middleton. No, that would be crazy. Chris Middleton is $33 million a year.
yeah,
Now, that
yeah,
would be a
yeah. Okay,
stupid deal.
but yes, I would do. I would still do Middleton at. Well, I guess it depends on Middleton's injury right now, but Middleton and Smart for
He's just
RJ
not.
sounds good.
He's just not that great a defender anymore. Chris Middleton.
Yeah, yeah.
Another deal that I was thinking was, you would have to commit to being a tax team, but RJ straight up for Drew Holiday, right? Portland. Why would Portland do it? They already have a plethora of wing players. They just cleared up space with Anthony Simons to be able to play Drew Holiday some major minutes. I think that's sort of the contract we're
They
looking at
want
here.
they want Drew. They signed Drew specifically.
Right.
They traded for him. They want him. Here's Washington here. Let me check it out. Why is Jordan Poole still on their books? They haven't updated this on Hoops Hype. What are you what
I'm on
site are you
Spot
using?
Track. I'm on Spot Track.
Oh, it wasn't updated on Spot Track. They still had Jordan Poole on their team.
Okay, so here's the Raptors cap sheet. Pending transactions, Mamukelashvili and Temple, right? And we have a player option for Mamu at 2.8 million next year. So this year's salary is 2.4. Just to put that into perspective, that is so cheap.
Right.
So this is the cap sheet for the Raptors this year. This starts with Scotty Barnes, 25% max, which is starting at 38 million, 38.6.
That's not
Brandon
too bad.
Ingram starts at 38, exactly.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Quickly, 32.5 flat. RJ Barrett, he has 2 more years at about 28.5 annual
Yeah.
average value. That is the one contract that sort of sticks out as
Right.
that's the one that's hurting you. And it's
Yeah.
not an indictment of RJ Barrett as a player. RJ Barrett's a good player. 25 and
Not at
5 is
all.
25 and 5. If RJ Barrett can be a good defender, this is no longer a problem. If RJ Barrett can be
Right.
a better shooter, this is no longer a problem. But until he does those two things, primarily he's deriving value as an on-ball player, and you already have 3 players who need the basketball in their hands.
For all
So, yes.
intents and purposes,
Mhm.
RJ is a very good player in the right situation. It just so happens that Toronto is not the right situation to maximize his strengths, right? And so he's like, there has to be a team out there that could use him more optimally.
Sure.
Like, you know, I feel like Washington is actually quite a good fit. Can you go to Washington's roster for a second?
Sure.
Here we are trying to play GM.
Mhm.
They are.
So the reason that Jordan Poole is still on their roster is because the deal can't be completed until July 6th. So it's just
They
it's
still. I
it's
see.
here as a pending.
I completely forgot CJ is on that team.
Yeah.
They have CJ, Middleton, and Smart as their vets.
Yeah.
Right, and then it's all kids.
Yeah. They have a lot of cap holds.
And Brogdon is a complete unrestricted free agent right now, right? He's not.
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
He's not even on their roster.
And Christian Coloco is currently a restricted free agent. I kind of want him still, but I understand now after the move we just made today that we probably can't get it back.
Yeah.
We still don't have like that one guy who could just come in and get 4 blocks, unless you're
Right.
counting on Ulrich. And
Right.
I do value my rim protectors, man. I do.
Listen, I like Ulrich. I want to see him play a little bit this year, even if he's not ready. If he's still raw, I don't care. I still want to see him get a couple minutes here and there. Throw him out in blowouts. Either way, if we're getting blown out or we're blowing a team out,
Mhm.
but I want to see him.
Yeah,
I want to see him on a basketball court just to see the shit that I want to see him do what he was doing in the 905, like
for sure.
on the court for us, right?
Yeah, I think he just really slow at processing the game at this point. That's kind of where we're at. So
Sure.
here we have the Orlando Magic cap sheet. They're going to get awfully expensive very quickly, right? Once Paolo's max hits in, and I suspect he'll be all NBA this year, so that's going to be a super max. Okay, that's going to be a super max starting north of $50 million a year. If
Right.
that happens, they will probably have to deal Jalen Suggs. They do not have the money right now, as it stands, if Anthony Black pops for them, to sign Anthony Black. They
Right.
may lose Caleb Houston, who I think I would take a flyer on personally.
Sure.
I think people really don't understand how do I put this? How dime a dozen players like Caleb Houston are in the league. You know what I mean? But if you can find the right one at a good enough price, sign them. You know, but like in terms of like the Rolodex of wings who aren't stars, who are inconsistent,
Mhm.
like man, AJ Lawson, Caleb Houston, you can throw a fucking dart out a window at a G League game and probably find one.
Sure.
So yeah. I think maybe because he does make a sizable amount of money, maybe someone like Wendell Carter, Jonathan Isaac, because they're signed so long term, maybe next offseason when RJ isn't
Right.
expiring, you can explore a deal for these 2 guys for
Sure.
your guy.
Sure.
And that kind of balances out your roster a little bit as well. I think, you know, again, like they made a huge move signing that, you know, going for Desmond Bane here. But if Bane doesn't work out, and let's just say he struggles the way that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope struggled, which I doubt that's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's a really huge guy sitting there, and you gave a 4 first-round picks to get him. So, you know, in terms of Orlando's roster, that's sort of what's up. I think New York would be a worthwhile thing to just sort of like look at really briefly here. The Knicks, Yabusele, you know, I think good deal. Jordan Clarkson, great deal. So they add 2 actual players
Yeah.
to a team full of 6, 7 actual players.
Right.
So they can go now 8 deep, 9 deep, which is great. It's great.
Did they have no rookies this year? Did they have no draft picks at all?
I don't think they had a draft.
Oh
pick
yeah, they
this
must have
year.
dealt them all
They
for
had one. They had one.
like a
They
second
had
rounder
one.
or something.
Yeah, I think he was like one of the last picks in the second round.
Right.
But I mean, nevertheless, I mean, could they bring back some of these guys? Could they bring back Precious Achiuwa on a minimum? Landry Shamet? I don't know. PJ Tucker, Delon Wright. They could bring back some of these guys to just fill out their roster, but for the most part, you know, unless you're getting a huge boost from Pacom or Tyler, who were your rookies last year, I
Mhm.
think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's your top 9 rotation. I
Yeah.
think that puts you firmly into they're one of the better teams in the East. Like one of the 3
Right.
best teams in the East is the
They're
floor,
going to be good.
unless something goes really wrong with their coaching search.
I mean, that
Now you
starting
got the
five is just too good.
Right. And now you got the Cleveland Cavaliers, who inexplicably, I think, let Ty Jerome go and sign Sam Merrill to the same deal, basically.
Bro, I was saying like Ty Jerome couldn't. I was trying to start a movement to flip RJ for Ty Jerome and sign Ty Jerome for like a cheaper deal, obviously than what RJ's at. Save a little bit of money, get off of RJ's contract, and then now RJ is on yes an expensive team, but this is a team that's going for it next year. So
Yeah.
yeah, RJ would be great on that team.
I don't really even like Ty Jerome more than RJ. I'm gonna be honest. If they were both making 27 million, I'd prefer RJ.
Oh, me too,
But if
100%.
Ty Jerome is making 9 million, I prefer Ty Jerome.
What did he just sign for, Ty Jerome?
9 million a year.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. He could have cost you 9-10 mil. You know, you're saving RJ's at what, 24? You're saving
Right.
roughly 14, 15 a year.
I wonder
There,
if the
like,
Raptors could make a deal for Darius Garland.
oof.
It's not going to be easy, and you
Now
probably
you're
have
big
to
game
add a
hunting.
pick. Well, I mean, he's 6'1", so I'm small game hunting, but I know what you're saying. Okay,
Yeah.
like I mean, you'll have to commit some dollars here, but if you were to trade for him, obviously it's Emmanuel quickly going the other way,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you're eating salary, and you're committing to the tax,
But
and you're
bro,
probably adding picks.
Darius Garland is so much better than Quickly. Like, so much better. When
He's
they're right. Like, obviously when he's not getting
yeah,
his jaw broken or whatever.
yeah,
But
yeah. He is better. Looking at what? No, they got Tim Hardaway Jr.
yeah, that just happened 5 minutes ago.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, I mean, Swiper is going to be unbearable. Shit. Oh my god. Okay, so they're actually a good team now.
Oh yeah, they just got Bruce Brown back, and they got Cam Johnson, Tim Hardaway. They're gonna be. This is a
Okay,
real team now.
so yeah, Calvin Booth, you were fired for a reason. My god, this is amazing. Tim Hardaway Jr. on the minimum after the season he just had. Bruce Brown on the minimum. This is a guy who's making 22 million. These guys were making a combined $40+ million last year. I'm pretty sure.
Well, it
So
kind of, I mean, it kind of almost validates Calvin Booth's decision to not sign him back, right? Like the big thing. The big thing was like, oh, we just want a chip. Let's sign all of our players back, but it wouldn't have been able to happen. Right?
right,
You had Michael Porter, like they overpaid Michael Porter. That's not
right.
not even a question, right? Gordon's on a decent contract, but it's still in the 30 million a year. It goes up 22? Are you kidding me? Oh, it goes up to okay. It increased. Yeah, right. He signed an extension. So it goes up to 30 as of next year.
32.
Yeah, 32,
35,
then
32,
34.
30,
Yeah.
34, 5, 37, 9. So look, I
Yeah.
think Calvin Booth was smart not to sign Bruce Brown to $22 million a year. I think Bruce would have
Yeah.
stayed for 12, but they didn't value him at 12. They valued him,
Right.
I think, at 6, 5. I think they couldn't even
Right.
sign him. So
Right.
they let KCP go. He's a bust. Immediately salary dumped. They let
Right.
Bruce Brown go. Immediately salary dumped. They were right to not sign those two guys. So I
Yeah.
think, on the one hand, you could ask yourself, would Calvin Booth do these deals as well? Yeah. But at the same time, he didn't. So the next guy gets the credit.
Sure.
Calvin
Sure.
Booth gets strays. I think these are 4 actual NBA players.
Oh yeah.
And you're adding them to a bunch of NBA players. Now, does this complicate Christian Brown's extension, which I believe if we're being honest, if he hits restricted free agency, he could command north of 20 million easily.
Right.
And Peyton Watson, also going to be a free agent. If he hits free agency, I think he probably gets 6, 7, 6, 8. So they're going to be an expensive team. They're going to be a very expensive team.
Watson
Again,
was like surprisingly good for them in the playoffs. That guy actually might be a 16-game player off the bench.
That's exactly it. I think, rim protection is rim protection is rim protection no matter where you get it from. You can get it from the guard spot like Jalen Suggs and Dwayne Wade. You can get it from the wing like Peyton Watson or potentially Ace Bailey or Carter Bryant, or you can get it from the big spot. I do think it matters that you have somebody who can protect the rim, and he does that. And I just think all of these are really smart signings. I've always wondered, like, first of all, Denver's a beautiful place, right? It's a beautiful place to play basketball. It's a very clean, nice city to live in. It's a decent sized market. It's not a mega market. It's not a huge market, but Colorado is a great place to be.
Totally.
I look at that and I say, Nikola Jokic is probably the star I would want to most play with if I was like, if I was an NBA player, I want to play with that guy, or I'd want to play with Shea.
100%.
I want to play with one of those two guys. So to me, this should have happened a long time ago. Players should have been taking discounts to play with Jokic his entire career since he's ascended to this MVP level. So now that we're actually seeing it, I think I'd be crazy not to pick the Denver Nuggets as a finalist right now
They are. I would say OKC, Denver, and Houston are now kind of in a tier together, where it was OKC and then everyone else. Now those three are like the cream.
Agreed. So the Houston Rockets, they made some moves. Okay, they get Jeff Green back, Aaron Holiday back, Jayshawn Tate back. Minimum. Perfect depth pieces. Not going to expect a lot from them. Clint Capella. I don't like this deal at all.
I didn't really get it. You have Steven Adams as I didn't really get it.
I think he's a minimum. I think he's a minimum guy. This is going to be roster depth at this point. Is it going to matter? Yeah. He's making 4% of the salary cap. That's basically like, honestly, man, like 4% of the salary cap is nothing. It's peanuts. 6 million.
Right.
I think it's just my mind is like 6 million. That used to be this. And it's just like, it's nothing.
Right.
3 years is the something though. Because if you ever want to move off this guy, good luck. Okay. It's not a high value player. Just 6 million is just a stupid amount of money. Like a stupidly large amount of money to pay for a player like this.
Yeah.
Dorian Finney-Smith.
DFS.
Great
Stolen
defender.
From the Lakers.
Great defender. Adding him to a team with already some incredible defenders. Here's a question for you. Dylan Brooks or Dorian Finney-Smith? Who would you rather have?
Dorian Finney-Smith at half the money.
If the money was the same. Dylan the Villain? Is it by much?
I mean, barely. I got to look at their 3-point numbers.
I mean,
that would determine it. The 3-point numbers in volume of threes, that would kind of be the tipping point, I'd say.
I think the difference is DFS is really guarded from threes. Like he has a reputation as a shooter, and I don't think Dylan does.
Right.
And
he's decent enough. He's got to be low to mid 30s. It's got to be around mid 30s, 34, 35%.
Okay, but like at 35, they're not guarding you. The NBA, they're not guarding you unless you're 37 and high volume and high complexity. So personally, I prefer Dorian Finney-Smith, but he is also 32 years old. So you're signing him for the regression. 100%. Yeah. There's a good chance that this contract ages like milk. Okay.
Right.
There's a great chance that Clint Capella ages like milk. There's a great chance that Fred VanVleet ages like milk. These 100%. Are 3 players north of 32 that could be pretty much hitting the cliff as early as next year. So feel like you won the offseason today, but if Kevin Durant, Fred VanVleet, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Clint Capella regress, you're going to be sitting on a very expensive roster. I don't like signing players over 32 to 3+ year deals unless they're stars. Right. I'm perfectly cool with Kevin Durant making this money. I think he's perfectly fine. If they extend him to a 2-year deal, 120 million kind of Jimmy Butler money, I think at some point during that contract, he's finally going to be overpaid. He's never been overpaid in his life, ever.
Right.
He's always been underpaid. At a max player, super max, he's always underpaid. I think we are now heading into is Kevin Durant overpaid territory as early as this year. And maybe it just continues. But now you've invested in him. You have to keep it. I understand Ime Udoka likes to, play his veterans. The Indiana Pacers, their roster, they have made no moves, which is weird,
Right.
according to Spot Track. They have no technical centers on their roster other than Tony Bradley. They have question marks, man. Is this team bottoming out now that they have their own pick via the Raptors? Fuck. Are they about to bottom out?
They might. They might.
could.
They might actually. Yeah, it is possible. I
Yeah.
mean, Pascal. I want to see the interviews where Pascal starts to say that he's lost the joy next year because they've decided not to compete, right? Or they're in a retooling year, rebuilding year, or whatever. That pissed me off
Sure.
when I heard him say that. Go fuck yourself, man. Like,
Really? I felt bad for him. I didn't feel pissed off. I felt bad because I understand it from his perspective too, right? Like the fans, he presumably felt that the fans really turned on him. That change.org petition still breaks my heart to this very day. Seeing people say that about send him back to Africa or something. I'm sorry. I can
oh, I mean, I did.
if I could meet the
I
if
had
I
no
could
idea.
meet the if I can meet the person who did that, we're fighting. Like we are fighting, and I'm gonna break your face. That shit
No,
was fucked to the next level. And then obviously like Raptors building around Scotty, Masai not calling him back, contract extension notwithstanding, guy who works this hard. I think it's just tough. It was a tough position for him. Best friend leaves, Fred VanVleet. Now he's stuck on a roster with this guy who doesn't really want to use him the way he wants to be used. Everything, the writing's on the wall. They're building around Scotty. That's a tough position to put any human being in.
I get that, but
Mhm.
first, so to touch on on the topic of his best friend leaving, okay, the Raps extended a fairly significant contract offer to him, right? It was 3
Agreed.
years, 90-ish.
Fred?
Yeah, was it
No.
3 years, 90? What did they extend him?
Yeah. Okay. So the final offer was 3 years, 90, but the initial offer was 4 years, 105, if I recall correctly.
4 years, 105 at an average of 27 million. Is that something? Yeah, in the
Yeah.
ballpark of 27.
If you really look at what Fred earned versus what he would have earned on that contract, he was right.
Right.
Because he got 42, 43 for the last 2 years, and now he gets the same contract that the Raptors wanted to give him, which is around 25 a year in his last 2 years. So he basically
Right.
gets the 4 years, but he gets a hike on the 4 years plus no state income tax in Texas.
Right.
So big difference in his net worth and everything.
I mean,
Obviously,
if
marketing much better in Toronto for him, but
yeah, if if all things are equal, you make a little bit more money off of sponsorship deals,
sure.
stuff like that. To me, there should have been in the same way that Masai extended them the courtesy, and it was a courtesy to trade real stuff for Pirtle to play along with
Yep.
them, right?
Mhm.
Fred leveraged that and ran dang near 30, 40 pick and rolls a game with Yak to get his assist numbers up, to boost his averages, right?
Yeah.
Like they extended you the opportunity to make it work, right?
Sure.
When it obviously fell on its face, at that point you don't lose your joy. Like Scotty was touting constantly, like, I love Pascal. He's like my favorite player in the league. You saw that there was a real kinship there, right? But at some point,
Yeah.
Pascal, like, I don't know. I guess it just bugs me when guys, not even about Toronto, when anyone starts talking shit about their previous team out the door. Well, like there's a little bit of I feel like there's a little bit of diplomacy that should be recognized. Like
I don't
what
think he was
if a
talking
team?
shit about the Raptors. I think he was talking shit about the situation. I think a lot of people that
Yeah,
hate the Raptors and hate Toronto used it like that. But it's like Pascal has never really shied away from the idea that he wanted to stay here. He's never
right.
shied away from the idea that he loved his time here. He's never shied away from, saying like shout outs to my Raptors fans. Also, big moment, which kind of brings me back to something Masai said, where he said his success is my success. Well, how many times during Pascal's amazing run to the finals did we hear when he was with the Raptors, the Raptors,
Right.
grew up with the Raptors, won a championship with the Raptors? Every time OG and Pascal do anything great, there's always this harkening back to Masai, the Raptors,
Right.
bench
Right.
mob. So it's great. It's great. I've let so much shit go. Like, I didn't like how he handled some of the stuff on his way out. I think it could have worked with him, though. That's the worst part. Like, he
Same.
was willing to play ball. He's super talented. Could have worked. Would have been nice to have someone who was actually there for the championship, there for the next run to the championship. I value continuity. I
Yeah.
just didn't feel like he was a very natural leader for the locker room. I didn't feel like he really understood his role as a leader. It's ironic because,
Right.
I think I've told you this before. KD was one of my favorite players growing up. KD is a player that always left that leadership vacuum kind of open. He leads in his
Right.
own way. He's like first guy in the gym. He's a hard worker. He's super clutch, whatever. But with Pascal, like, does he understand the organization is relying on him to recruit? That's part of leadership. Does he understand that the organization is relying on him to have tough conversations in the locker room, rally the troops, coach the
Right.
young kids, have those conversations? Whereas, like, whenever he was asked about it, there was always this mention of like, well, I'm not the psychologist. I think that was a quote that he gave, right? He's like, I'm not that psychologist. Like, I don't know what you want from me, right?
Yeah.
And I think, maybe if earlier on someone had told him, like, this is the role you're being groomed for, like what they've done with Scotty, it would have been better for him. But it doesn't
Right.
feel like he was all that interested. And I'll be curious to see how he does with Indiana next year. Maybe he's grown from this a little bit. People, grow at different times.
True.
So, yeah. But I do feel bad for him. I don't think he meant it as a slight against Toronto. I think he more or less was trying to express how happy he was to be back in a situation where you're about to get traded every fucking week isn't on
Right.
hanging over his head, because that's stressful,
I get
right?
that. I do get that. I get why he would, like, I don't know. You just have to know that if you're in
Yeah,
the public eye like that and you say something like that, you have to know that you are indirectly slamming the team that you just got traded from, right? And
sure.
who obviously, like, who extended you, who built their team around you for better for worse once Masai left, once Kawhi left, right?
Mhm.
Like, Masai put his, not trust, but like his faith into that team, right? So that should have been recognized. And then when it's so obvious, like, to anyone who, like, to any casual fan, Scotty coming in the door, like, this is the guy, this is the next guy, obviously. And he has those leadership intangibles that Pascal lacked. And that's going to shine through this year. I think this coming year is going to be a big year.
Yeah,
I see Ingram being like a KD light, not only in his game, but in the way he carries himself. It's similar to KD, and he's like he's soft spoken, but he gets his work done, right?
mm,
He's a professional. You don't develop that kind of footwork, you don't develop that kind of mid range game by resting on your laurels.
sure.
If you did, then you'd be Michael Beasley, but he's not. He's
Yeah,
way better than Michael Beasley.
he's a skills junkie for sure. And I actually,
Yeah.
I'm thinking back to, like, okay, so I think about comfort, right? Everybody needs different things to be comfortable. So yesterday, somebody messaged me and said, I need to have a conversation with you at 3 o'clock, right? And this was 11 o'clock. So now I have 4 hours. And I'm like, can you give me a heads up on what this is about a little bit, just so I have a better chance to prepare? But what my non-neurotypical brain was really trying to process is this going to be a bad meeting or a good meeting? Am I in trouble? Did I do something? Did I say something? And I got to tell you, for 4 hours, I sort of spiraled into, catastrophizing what might happen, what might not happen. I've
Okay.
noticed for myself that I need a great deal of predictability in terms of what's about to happen. I need to be prepared. I mean, be like, okay, this is going to be the agenda on the meeting. Now I'm cool. You don't tell me what the agenda of the meeting is. Now I'm like, okay, am I about to get scraps? Am I about to get, blasted? Am I about to, something is about to happen?
Right.
So that's me. Everybody needs different things. Some people need not know. They're just like, whatever. They're just chilling. 3 hours, seriously worded. I need to have a talk with you. Like, it's
Yeah.
like, those people that say, like, babe, I need to talk when we get home. Uh-oh. Like, fuck.
Not a
What
good
did I
plan. Not a good
do?
scene.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And then obviously it ends up being something stupid, like, I really want to buy a new vacuum cleaner, but saw this new vacuum cleaner on Temu,
Yeah. Yeah.
really
Go
want
for
to
it.
buy this
Sure.
$3 vacuum cleaner from China. But no, your mind catastrophe. Some people are just really cool with that. So I'm just thinking like certain people need different things. And I'm looking at Scotty, and Scotty needs very different things than Pascal. I actually think, ironically, Pascal is a little bit like me. I think he needs a set routine. I think he needs predictability. I think he needs to
Sure.
know where he's at with the organization, what he's going to be. And I
Mhm.
think the pandemic showed that. I think the pandemic really showed that. He hated Tampa because it disrupted his routine. He hated the lockdowns because it didn't allow him to go play basketball. Didn't want to go outside and play basketball because, that's not his regular routine. So again, very routine-based people, right?
Sure.
And that's just a personal thing. Scotty,
Totally.
I think Scotty is going to be very comfortable with Mamu. I have a
I
feeling
think so too.
there's certain players around the league that I watch play, and I'm like, Scotty's gonna love that guy. Scotty's gonna hate playing with that guy. The
Right.
Raptors have brought in every single player they have brought in. I tell you, if there's a metric, if there's an advanced analytic for Scotty score, every one of these guys get a 9 or 10 on Scotty score. Elijah
Right.
Martin, 9 out of 10 on the Scotty score, maybe 10 out of 10. Played in Florida, super scrappy, plays football. Scotty played football growing up. It's almost like we're basically going on Tinder and swiping right for Scotty matches,
Right.
Josh Minot would have been a perfect Scotty match. Think about other Scotty matches.
Is that dude on Minnesota, Terrence Shannon? What's his deal? Is he still under contract?
Terrence Shannon.
I
Yeah, of
liked him.
course. He was a rookie last year. I don't
Oh,
think he would
okay.
be a perfect Scotty match. The Toronto Raptors have waived Jared Roden from his 2-way contract. The league sources told. Great. I wasn't sold on him anyway. I hope this means we're signing somebody else to a 2-way. That would be great. Or we could roll through and leave a 2-way slot open to see who emerges out of summer league. We'll see.
That's they usually do that. They do that every
They
year.
usually do.
They usually leave 1 or 2 spots open
Yeah, we'll see.
and see what comes of it.
I wouldn't be opposed to maybe even giving Ulrich the final roster spot and opening up another 2-way. We could see that,
Totally. Eubanks to Kings, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Has a lot happened in the last 25 minutes since we started talking? Like what the fuck?
No,
The
it was
Raptors are
just
waving Roden.
I
Legal.
only saw the Eubanks thing. Where does
Okay.
what's his name on Keegan Murray? What's his deal? Is he on an extension?
I don't think they've extended him yet, but I think this is the last year of his rookie deal. So
I feel like
No.
I feel like he's their future, right?
I mean, he should be, but they've done nothing to convince me that they or the Pelicans know what the fuck they're doing this offseason. So they are just thoroughly cooked. I'm just saying it. Like they suck. When I heard that they were potentially going to trade Malik Monk in order to net themselves a chance to be Dennis Schroeder's 85th team, I was honestly like, whoa, Malik Monk is so much better. I wouldn't.
Bro, they gave Schroeder $15 million a year. That's crazy.
That is so mental. Also, happy Canada Day to everyone. I apologize. Wow, very un-Canadian of me. Not very civic. Paradise Lost. Happy Canada Day, kiddies. Cool.
Yes.
Okay. Your audio is doing that thing it was doing last time.
Oh man, I'm sorry. I think when these AirPods they get to a certain
Battery level.
they start to do that.
Yeah.
I should tap out soon anyway though because we got hella shit that I've got to get done in the house and
I got you.
Yeah. But listen, I just wanted to pop on and say what's up. And I was really happy about the Mamu move. I think, hard to tell right now. It looks like Atlanta's taking a step next year. It looks like, Indiana's taking a step back. Milwaukee, we don't know what we're doing as of yet. But I'm excited. I'm excited of what team's going to look like for sure. And I'm sure we'll be chatting more throughout the summer.
Absolutely, man. Take care. Enjoy. Hopefully the Raptors sign someone good going forward.
For
Peace,
sure.
man.
For sure. Take care, brother.
All right. See you. Okay. If you're still tapped into this video, I applaud you. 370 of you, presumably some of you have stayed from the start. Some of you come in new. If you are new here, please hit subscribe. If you're an old time channel member who, wants to help out the community, please feel free to hit that little like button, hit notifications. That really helps. I usually am really bad about reminding people to hit subscribe and hit notifications. I'm trying to make a better habit of it lately. We have crossed 13,050 subscribers, which is really cool for me. Let's try to get to 15,000 before the season starts. That would be great. Someone said, can we talk about Alpine Fury? I was supposed to go to Canada's Wonderland a few days ago, and I just ended up not doing it. But is it something worth checking out? That's cool. Okay. I haven't been to a theme park in a while, bro. I actually had I had a season pass. My ex-girlfriend got me a season pass for Canada's Wonderland, and then I just didn't go. Theme parks used to be such a big deal to me when I was a kid, and then now they're not. So okay. So I mean, look, the Raptors roster is looking better, much better. I think if there's a takeaway from this video, it is that 1 or 2 moves around the fringes would help tremendously. I think that would be great. Kinch saying Al Horford is either going to go to the Pacers or Golden State Warriors. Celtics can't afford him, even on the minimum. I mean, they can afford him. They're choosing not to pay because they're trying to be bad. Could have gotten Ayton for cheaper. Who could have gotten Ayton? No, I mean, it's worth noting that the Pacers were the team that initially wanted DeAndre Ayton. Do they still want DeAndre Ayton is a question. The Raptors, of course, Darko Rakovic has a relationship with DeAndre Ayton. Would the Raptors look to DeAndre Ayton, and what would that cost them? That would obviously cost them much more than they have available, so they would have to facilitate a sign and trade, which cannot really even be done right now since Ayton has been waived. And I think the buyout component of Ayton, there's a story in The Athletic, which I don't subscribe to The Athletic, so I haven't read it and probably can't read it. But I'm sure it'll come out at some point why the Portland Trailblazers waived DeAndre Ayton. They thought he was bad for their team. And I don't think anyone can be around the NBA, around scouts, around anybody, be in these circles, talk to these people, and not get the feeling that everyone around the league has kind of made up their mind about DeAndre Ayton just being bad for team culture. So, yeah. Big Kwanzaa Larrays said, are you worried if our summer league team doesn't perform well, assuming it's more than half the squad? And also, would you have Grady play in summer league? Please answer Penn. Well, I'm choosing to answer. 1, no, I'm not worried about summer league. And 2, Grady's not playing in summer league. That would be, quite frankly, not very useful for him. Although, I understand fans always think playing more is useful. No, I think Grady needs to get in the gym. I think Grady needs to play higher level competition. I think Grady needs to just work on his body and just make sure that his body doesn't break down throughout the middle of the season, because he's had a lot of hot stretches and a lot of cold stretches. There's a chance, obviously, that he comes out next year and he's just notably the same player, and at which point I think the Raptors are going to have to consider that maybe they drafted a bust. If he takes a step up, this is a 21, 22-year-old with a very exciting, very valuable archetype in the NBA of a movement shooter who is a plus size, reasonable playmaker. He's not a bad player, y'all. We talk about him like an afterthought sometimes because he had a really tough, out of sight, out of mind end to last season. But the Raptors were trying to tank, okay? First 2 months of the season, this guy looked like he was going to, put himself in contention for a most improved player. So what is the real Grady? Which is the real Grady? All I know is defenses respond to him when he's on the court. That is a good thing. There are not a lot of players on this team that defenses really respect on all 3 levels. He is a player that defenses still respect to this very day. And I think that alone makes him a $10 to $12 million player. Right? How does Mamu compare to Baines player-wise? It's a really good question. I mean, Aaron Baines shot 37% from 3 the year before he came here too, right? And then he just couldn't shoot. I'm not really sure. I can certainly understand why you would feel they're similar. I've always felt Mamu was maybe just a little bit more mobile and a little bit better of a playmaker. I think maybe we're just kind of comparing them because they're both tall white guys who shoot threes, but that's not to say, Aaron Baines wasn't a good player. I think Aaron Baines was a good player. He just happened to be a really bad player for the Raptors. Also, Aaron Baines got a lot more money, and Mamu just signed for less. And Mamu is younger when he signed with the Raptors. I think Aaron Baines was close to 30. Bueno Kitty saying, I'm on the Jacoby Glaze this year. Can't wait to see his progress. Honestly, that's one reason I wouldn't want Grady to play Summer League, is because it just takes away touches from the player that I want to get the most touches in Summer League, and that's Jacoby. I want Jacoby and CMB to lock up, play exciting defense. I want Jamal Shed to be leading this crew. They've been working together all offseason. They're going to come into Summer League probably as the most connected group in Summer League. Throw some lobs to Ulrich. Maybe he starts, maybe he doesn't. Jameson Battle might get some Summer League run. This is going to be a pretty good Summer League, right? You don't need Grady out there sucking up possessions because he's going to get a ton of shots that he doesn't really need right now. I'm looking forward to Jacoby as well. I think he's a dog. I think he's going to be really good. I think he's going to carve himself out a role as a sixth man on this team by next year. And I think, looking back, I think the Raptors will be very, very happy with that pick. We'll see, the jury's still out on whether CMB is going to shoot, but knowing Darko and the progress they made with, he hit a lot more threes last year than for South Carolina. He hit way more threes than Jonathan Mobo hit in his final year in collegiate basketball. And we saw Jonathan Mobo comfortably taking threes. So one thing is for sure, if CMB was unwilling to take threes, CMB would not be a Raptor. They have a plan. He has a plan. They believe in him. I hope he can shoot soon. It would be a huge thing if CMB can be a 3-4 as opposed to a 4-5. I think him as a 3-4 opens up the room for him to play next to Scotty when Scotty's playing 2. Maybe, it allows you to play CMB at the dunker spot off the bench with Mamu also playing on the court with Scotty, BI, and IQ. That could be a very interesting team with a lot of positional size. The Raptors have a chance to go small with Scotty and CMB at the 5, maybe Mobo at the 4, or something like that. They also have a chance to go huge with Scotty at the 2, BI at the 3, CMB at the 4, Jakob at the 5. But again, a lot of this becomes a lot easier if potentially Scotty can shoot really well this year and CMB can shoot really well. I'll also add that there's a chance, of course, when you go double big, that Jakob Poeltl and Mamukelashvili can actually play together, which could also be very interesting because in terms of your big players, and by big players, I mean Mobo, Barnes, CMB, your guys who are 6'8"-ish, 6'7", 6'8", can play 4. Mamukelashvili is probably the best shooter. Not probably, he's definitely the best shooter in that bunch. So if he plays the 4 next to Jakob at the 5, he's providing more spacing than Scotty Barnes would be providing at that spot. And that way, you can play BI at the 3, IQ at the 1, Scotty at the 2. Now you're very interesting as a basketball team. So, and you're also huge, right? You're enormous as a basketball team. So it's weird how a minimum signing can change the outlook of your team this much. But this is what we call winning on the margins. Anyways, thank you so much to Vince for calling in. Thank you to all of you who stuck with us for 2 hours and 22 minutes. Thank you to everyone who hit like on this video. And if you want to let me know something, what is the fair value of Sandro Mamukelashvili based on what you've seen? Let me know in the comments below when this video goes live. What would you have signed him to? Talk to y'all later. Peace.